Hi, this is David Oman with HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Hi, Jeremy Scott here from Into the Paranormal, and I'm back live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hi, guys. Matt Ray with America's First News. And if you're like me, you're probably still looking for that special Christmas gift for your wife or girlfriend. Treat her to the very best this year. The world's softest pajamas from Pajamagram. Because they are the world's softest pajamas, they're lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny. They're like cashmere, only better, and you'll love the way they look. She'll love the way they feel. The softness, the warmth, the comfort. And if you're like me, you can't stand wrapping presents. It's tough to do. Well, get this. Pajamagram includes free gift packaging. All you have to do is make the order, and delivery is guaranteed by Christmas. Plus, they're backed by a 100% lifetime guarantee. You risk nothing but the look on her face, guys, when she opens the Pajamagram. So go to Pajamagram.com right now. That's Pajamagram.com. Tell them Matt Ray sent you. That's Pajamagram.com. Tell them Matt Ray sent you.
Live for 3 hours every Saturday night. It's a show that engages the mind, makes you think, and maybe even challenge what you think you know. Hi, I'm Jeremy Scott of Into the Paranormal, where we talk about topics that are anything but mainstream, somewhere between abnormal and paranormal. Bring an open mind and join us for Into the Paranormal, live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM.
Who were the real ancient Egyptians? What is it about ancient Egypt that captivates us all? The critically acclaimed series Magical Egypt is back with all new episodes. Let Chance Gardner and company take you on another adventure through Magical Egypt in the new series Magical Egypt 2. Magical Egypt 2 attempts a forensic reconstruction of the science of the ancients through a study of ancient aesthetics. Also, the best researchers and authors in the field like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Laird Scranton, Robert Bouval, Lon Maladuquette, Aaron Cheek, and more join together to explore the topics of the esoteric and the hidden messages of the ancient Egyptians. Just go to MagicalEgypt.com right now and put in the code word FRINGE and get 10% off any download or order, including the groundbreaking original Magical Egypt series, as well as the new episodes in Magical Egypt 2. Also, check out the great work and the companion series at MagicalEgypt.com. Click the banner on the Fringe FM or go to MagicalEgypt.com and use the code word FRINGE and get 10% off your order today while it lasts.
We told you weeknights on the Fringe FM are now even better. And we mean it.
Do it live!
Where else can you hear the best shows and the best talent? Kick off your evening with our newest host, Alex Exum, live at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Hang out with me, Joe Roop, on Lighting the Void at 9 Pacific, midnight Eastern. Ryan Gable expands your mind on the secret teachings at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern. We're bringing the heat every single night. Fire it up, The Fringe FM.
This is Paranormal News. I'm John Jeter. The first ever recording of what winds on Mars sound like has been captured by NASA's InSight lander. After touching down on the red planet following a 6-month trip through space, sensors recorded winds blowing at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. The frequency of the sounds are similar to what comes out of a subwoofer, which is hard for most of us to hear. NASA raised the audio 2 octaves to be more perceptible to the human ear. Over the coming years, they'll be able to collect even more data on the Mars 2020 rover, which will be equipped with a pair of microphones. Not even a week after arriving at near-Earth asteroid Bennu, the OSIRIS-REx probe has found hydrated minerals, suggesting that liquid water was once plentiful on the 1,640-foot wide space rock.
It's got a lower density than even these carbonaceous chondrite meteorites, which tells us that it probably is made of these hydrated minerals, which are generally low density.
The University of Arizona's Dante Loretta, principal investigator on the OSIRIS-REx mission, said, "We targeted Bennu precisely because we thought it had water-bearing minerals." NASA also released the awesome picture of Bennu that was taken on December 2nd as the spacecraft approached it. Scientists believe Bennu is likely a pile of rubble that coalesced after a massive impact shattered a larger object hundreds of millions of years ago. You'll find these stories at paranormalradio.com. I'm John Jeter, Paranormal News.
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS T-drift. Contact, nice, in orbit.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from the realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Good evening, I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void. It is Thursday night, December the 20th, on into the solstice, on into the 21st, and we are live on KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM, and our website is lightingthevoid.com. Open lines all night tonight on Thursday night. If you want to call in, you can also text in at 501-777-5631. And tonight is a kind of a really cool special event. This evening on the broadcast, we're going to discuss conspiracy and magic in the media and some more topics. We're going to go down many roads tonight with my favorite conspiracy guy and brother from another mother, Dave Cruz, is here with us. It's been a long time since I've had him on the show, and can't wait to get into some of this stuff. So it's going to be a kind of a fun night. But he does want to bring this up, that there's a lot of this stuff in the media, so we're going to talk about it. And we're really going to discuss it and research it together. And I look at Dave Cruz as kind of a legend, right? He was the man that was here with me when the Fringe FM first started. It was us that created this thing. It was Dave and I that came up with the name, the colors. Why do you think the logo looks like the Raiders, right? It's got the Raiders colors. That's all Dave, babe. Thank you for your support and your donations. We could really use them right now. I know it's December, of course. But if you have donated, thank you so much. And for all of you guys' support, you can grab a t-shirt, you can donate, you can use the Amazon portal, you can grab a free audiobook if you go to audibletrial.com/LTV radio and get you a free audiobook. That's what you need to do if you can do that. Now, some of you have, but I understand some of you don't like audiobooks. And I'm in a really good mood tonight, and I'll tell you why. Because all of you that have prayed for my grandmother. Well, today I heard her voice. She talked. We called her and said, "How are you?" And my grandfather picked up the phone and he said, "Hey, speak to your grandmother." And she's up and she's talking. She's off all the machines. They're going to move her into another room. She's recovering. Boy, that was really scary, though. She was knocking on death's door, and now she's back. And I have to believe it was because of all of you guys' prayers and vibes that you sent. I know that stuff's real, man. I know it works, so thank you guys so much. But it's fitting tonight also to have Dave Cruz on because the solstice is coming up, and it's really cool. We're going to talk about that. But Dave Cruz, if you don't know, he is a host of Beyond the Strange. The website is beyondthestrange.com. And Dave kind of grew up watching all of these old conspiracy shows, and he fell in love with the genre. And then he made his famous all-seeing eye logo and started a show called Beyond the Strange, which we used to air on the Fringe FM. But Dave, for family reasons and other things, he had to step away. And now he's got a YouTube show, and he's still doing it, I believe, every Sunday. And it's been such a long time to have you on the program, Dave, man. Welcome back. I really appreciate you coming on, brother.
Hola.
Well, what's been going on in your world? How you been, man?
Well, first of all, happy solstice. And also, I want to say I'm so happy to hear that your grandma is doing so much better, dude. It's awesome, man. And yeah, Deb and I, we really did pray for her and everything and sent, positive energy and healing energy. So I'm really, really, really glad to hear she's doing better. So thank God for that.
Yeah, it really started to worry me there, because she was so sick she couldn't talk, and she would mumble, and you could tell that she was really, you know what I mean. Everybody's been to ICU at least once. It's not pretty. And to hear her voice today and to talk to her, and she's got a memory, which, I think is amazing, right? How the body fights, because nobody knew, right? So you're looking at her and she's hooked up to all these machines. And really, if you think about it, after talking to these doctors and nurses, all they really do is they try to keep the body to where it can fight back. And once that body gets in the mode, your human body gets the mode to fight back, it's incredible to see what it does. And also the willpower doesn't hurt a little bit too, because she sure has that. But thank you guys. Great. I appreciate your support on that. And a lot of people came back and really supported on that. That was very touching. But yeah, I'm glad that you're on the show, because I want to talk about these magic and symbolism in the media and all kinds of stuff. We can talk UFOs. We can go wherever you want, Dave. That's the beauty of Dave Cruz. We can go all over the place with this guy. But last night I tried to do, so I had a guest on last night, and it was just, I was trying to do the old Art, kind of doing the old Art Bell thing where you have somebody call in and they get a story, but they don't really want to tell anybody who they are, excuse me. And, she had a near-death experience, and then we started talking about dream yoga and reincarnation and all of these different things. And so I went into that to talk about, the methods of dream yoga and astral travel and how to open up your consciousness. And it got real particular, went into the Gnostic teachings, and I might as well have just dropped an atom bomb in the room, because everything went dead silent and everybody got, kind of washed up. Well, it's too complicated. This stuff is too, I said, well, I never said it was going to be easy. You know what I mean? Some of this stuff ain't easy. And then I went on a big rant, and I think a lot of that had to do with the stress of the hospital. But I was, when I got up today, that's the first thing I did when I heard her voice, is run up to the hospital. I didn't even look at my phone or the messages or anything until I got back, which was just a few hours ago. And so I kind of want to try to simplify it and maybe dig back into this stuff and, not overcomplicate things, I guess. We tend to do that sometimes.
I think so. And, especially around that time where we have family, especially the ones that are closest to us, when they're sick, when they're ill or whatever, even passing, here's the weird part, Joe. I've noticed this. A lot of times it happens at the end of the year. You ever notice that?
Yep. During the dying season. Yeah.
The dying season. That's the first time I actually heard that term, but it fits, because I've had some relatives pass away already. And then, you have this happen with your grandmother, which, by the way, thank God she's okay. Mm-hmm. And then last night, I heard about my uncle who had to have a quadruple bypass.
Oh, man.
And again, he came through this morning, and, thank goodness everything's all fine and dandy right now. But I always worry about this time of year because this is when the old year goes and it takes people with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And this solstice is actually pretty special. For some of you don't know about what's going on with the solstice, but it's pretty special this year because it's the shortest time of the year. It falls on December the 21st, and it's actually it's in a lot of esoteric literature. We all know that, but it's the moment at which Earth's axis tilts the northern hemisphere farthest from the sun's warmth. It happens once a year in each hemisphere, and it's really special this year because we're having a full moon, and it's also called the cold moon, and it's going to be visible in the night sky, also along with the Ursid meteor shower. But a lot of people, there's a lot of names for it. It's been called midwinter. And I think it also, it's when the sun also appears in its most southerly position. But the earliest people on Earth built monuments to follow the sun's yearly progress. And we've seen that in all the Egyptian stuff and Stonehenge. But at sunrise at Stonehenge on the longest day of the year, the rising sun appears behind one of the main stones. And it creates this illusion that the sun is balancing on the stone. And I think Stonehenge was closed for like 16 years after there was a riot that broke out between police and all this stuff for several years after the solstice gatherings. But the site was reopened to the public back in 2000. And wow. And the ancients. So this is why I wanted to talk about this stuff all week long. The real meanings of the symbols of Christmas and the solstice, and try to put it all together. But I think I need to slow down a little bit because I got all this information I want to talk about, and I try to slap it all together. And, you can tend to glaze people's eyes over a little bit with that stuff. But also, real quick, too, I want to tell you that not just the December full moon, not just the meteor shower, but there's also going to be a Mercury and Jupiter conjunction. So when you look into the southeast before the sunrise, wherever you are this Friday, you're going to be able to see Mercury and Jupiter appearing as if they're about to collide in space, even though they're, hundreds of millions of miles away. That's what it's going to look like. But it'll be right after, I think they're saying right after bright twilights when you'll be able to see that. So really early in the morning. So you night owls like me, you'll be able to see it. I'll probably be able to see it. Special solstice this year.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. Bringing up Jupiter. I don't know if you kept tabs on the new France, is it prime minister or even president? I'm not sure, but supposedly he's supposed to rule like Jupiter. That's what he said when he first got into office.
I remember that, right?
Yeah, and they're just like tearing that place up, dude.
What are they doing?
Have you been keeping an eye on the riots in France?
Man, I don't care about Europe.
That's right. We just said that earlier, huh?
England is England, maybe a couple other countries, but for the most part, I don't really pay attention to Europe. It's too complicated over there. They always got some stuff going on.
They do. And that's the interesting thing about this is the media coverage, and we'll get more into that later in the show. But the media coverage about France and these riots have been like almost nil, zero. There've only been like maybe one or two reporting agencies, if you will, of course, mainstream, that have talked about these riots that have been happening. Why are they keeping it on the down low? I have no idea. A lot of it has to do with the people basically getting upset because of the mainstream. I think they were attacking a TV station, as a matter of fact. And the mainstream media they don't want to show it on TV. As a matter of fact, all of the coverage has been the whole Daddy Bush funeral thing. I don't know where people stand with, the Bushes and whether they support them or not. I'm not trying to make light of it. You know, George Bush was one of our presidents, and he passed. And
yeah, but I didn't like him either. I don't really like HW. HW is the biggest spook of them all, man. You know, when he died, all these new documents came out that nobody could see until his death.
A lot of conspiracy.
Yeah, man. Him and Clinton had a lot of stuff going on.
Right.
Think about what we're going to find out when I guarantee there's just as many CIA classified papers under Clinton. When he passes away, we're probably going to see just as many, if not more. And I know a buddy of mine over at blackvault.com, he's probably all over that stuff. That guy's like, I don't know. He's Houdini when it comes to getting documents.
Well, I can't wait to hear that when you get him on the show again. But
yeah.
Going back to this media coverage, that's all they were showing. And not only were the riots happening at that time, but the stock market was dropping. It was plummeting. And a lot of people didn't notice that. This whole thing was just like, it's like a cover up. So there's a lot to do with a lot of the tinfoil hat people, but at the same time, you know, we can't go down too many rabbit holes because you know how that goes.
Well, what are they covering up over there? What do you mean? Or what do you think they might be covering up?
You know, I wish I could have paid attention to a little bit more, but I know it has a lot to do with the media, the media in France, and it's quite possible that, you know, the people who are awake, if you will, are starting to realize we're being lied to. The truthers want to know what's really happening, and so they're taking matters into their own hands now. You know, I'd like to see it happen here in the States too. Hopefully, we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I know John B. Wells was on this QAnon bit, and I looked into that. I see that's the thing about conspiracy. I don't really give into it too much until something comes out. Just like when you and I talked about chemtrails, I never really gave into that because I always knew kind of about, you know, weather manipulation and all those different things. But I never thought, surely our own government's not poisoning us. And it took me a while to get into that. But the conspiracy, and you know, here's the freaky thing about it, Dave, is that, you know, I don't talk too much conspiracy, right? I really don't. Mm-hmm. But I'm on a conspiracy hit list on fakeology.com or something. They've got 200 radio shows there that think that they work for the government, and they put me on that list. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, what the hell are you talking about, man? I don't even talk conspiracy half the time. I've admitted the ones I was wrong about. I don't know where they get this stuff from. So I'm afraid when it comes to conspiracy, sometimes I'm going to go crazy, you know, like that guy in that movie, what was it, 23 or whatever, with Jim Carrey, where he starts seeing all those numbers all the time. It wasn't 23, it was something else. And you just start thinking, you know what I'm talking about. You start thinking every damn thing is a conspiracy, and then you don't know your head from the hole in the ground anymore.
Yeah.
That's a fear of mine, though.
You gotta pick and choose, in my opinion. And I do think that some of them have a lot of credibility. I'm still, a proponent when it comes to being against geoengineering and chemtrails. And I just did a show, as a matter of fact, with a friend and recurring guest on my show. His name is Michael Freehawk Polani. And when I first started talking to him, it was about crop circles. And when we started talking about the chemtrail situation, he was like, oh my gosh. And he just went and started doing all this research. I even told him about Matt Landman and Matt Landman's documentary, Frankenskies. There's a lot of information in that. And, once you see that kind of stuff, what I think is important is people need to think. Again, I say it at the end of every one of my shows, do your research and come up with your own conclusions. Formulate your own conclusions, because it's important to think. Don't just follow what everyone else says. Do your own research. Think for yourself. But like I said, I think there really is something to do as far as chemtrails go. and so some other things. But again, like I said, we're going to talk about that later.
Well, I have an issue with that. If I start going crazy, man, the doctor puts me on like sleeping pills. I'll get insomnia. Matter of fact, he already put me on temazepam because when Grandma got sick, I was freaking out, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, man, you need to get some sleep. You're going nutty. Here's a bottle of what is this stuff called? Is it temazepam? I haven't taken one of them yet. I'm too afraid to. I'm afraid it'll put me into a coma. But I don't get much sleep as it is, just studying, you know, UFOs and the esoteric. If I start getting into conspiracy, I'll probably die from insomnia. But I like to talk about it every now and then, and that's why you're here, man, because you'll keep me calm. You'll make sure I don't do anything stupid, right?
There's no reason to.
Make sure I don't say anything stupid, too, while you're at it. If not, I'll blame it on you.
You can blame it on me. It's fine. It's been a while.
But I did, you know what I did find is I stepped away from it because, you know, I love audio, you know, I love radio. I love the art of it. I'm not a big video or camera guy. I just love radio. And I was thinking, man, with all these talk shows are talking about conspiracies and stuff, let me step back and just look and see what's going on out there. So I just found out, and some of you are going to laugh at this, but I just found out that there are podcasts that are so freaking cool now that you can listen to, like Alice Isn't Dead, Night Vale, stuff. And these are total fiction podcasts, just total fantasy. But they remind me of the old shows like Dragnet and The Shadow Knows. And so we're redoing all this stuff. And I thought it was cool to step back away and check that stuff out. So I did that this whole time. Instead of, you know, digging and looking up conspiracies. Like I told you today, I just got back from the hospital. I don't even have my notes or show prep today. I just been relaxing and listening to all that stuff here lately.
Yeah.
You guys should check that out, though. It's called Alice Isn't Dead. If you want to hear a podcast, this thing really freaked me out, man. It made the hairs on my arms stand up listening to it. And it's told from a lady truck driver who is, and some of you guys probably already know the ending to this, so don't spoil it for me. But it's like Twilight Zone podcasting, you know, the real deal. Not like these other fakers that are really trying to do the stuff. I mean, they put a lot of time and effort and art into this thing. I want to get them on the show and talk to about it. And I'd love to have a show like that on this network if anybody's interested in doing one.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So what's on your mind, man? Tell me. I know you got something stirring, something big, something you want to talk about.
Well, one of the things that I've been really noticing has been a lot of mainstream media has been using different symbolism, different wordism, if you will. And it looks like there might be a real high agenda when it comes to, and please, anyone out there, if you're listening, don't attack the messenger. I'm just trying to report it. But I feel there is an agenda when it comes to either a Luciferian agenda or a satanic agenda that's even ramping up even more in Hollywood right now. And I'm sure you've heard it on other shows and stuff, but there's a lot of shows that I've been noticing that's out there that has a lot to do with Lucifer, Satan, and they're making here's the interesting thing. One of my favorite shows is Supernatural. I think I've told you that before, Joe, right?
Yeah.
And they have the character Lucifer in the show, and it's a big giant plot, big twists and all that stuff. But in the beginning, Lucifer was actually shown as the bad guy who wants to destroy the world in the apocalypse. Well, the show goes on, and now Lucifer is coming back as they're trying to have sympathy for the devil, if you will. And so it's not just in that show. It seems to be in other shows. Another show, and I don't know if we're coming up against a break or a commercial, but I really want to talk about the chilling adventures of Sabrina, and we can go through that. Ooh. You know.
Okay. All right. So, well, yeah. Well, we can talk about that because I got something to say about Lucifer. Doesn't that make you feel? Doesn't that freak people out just when you say Lucifer? Like, oh God, it's Lucifer, right? So yeah, I get the idea of a Luciferian agenda. It's like a belief system that pretty much is essential to the characteristics that are all around Lucifer. But it's also, some people think it's influenced by the Gnostics, who we've talked about that quite a bit. But we can get into the Luciferian agenda and the symbolism and all of that stuff. And you know what? Before it's all over with, we may not agree, but I think that's what the show is about, right? Light in the void. We're not trying to make you pick a side here. We're just trying to find out the truth. I'm here with Dave Cruz from BeyondTheStrange.com. I'm Joe Root. This is Lighting the Void. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Lucifer. Scary, isn't it?
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTOK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Do you ever wonder why there's so much show in politics? Do you ever wonder why America's not getting fixed? Ever wonder why our media is not reporting the news? They report only their biased opinion. Are you tired of feeling like a controlled rat? Do you wonder what's next? If you're looking for answers, join me, Ronnie McMullen, for my new show, Deep Waters Radio. That's Deep Waters Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific, right here on The Fringe FM.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM. See you then.
Hi, guys. Matt Ray with America's First News. And if you're like me, you're probably still looking for that special Christmas gift for your wife or girlfriend. Treat her to the very best this year. The world's softest pajamas from Pajamagram. Because they are the world's softest pajamas, they're lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny. They're like cashmere, only better, and you'll love the way they look. She'll love the way they feel. The softness, the warmth, the comfort. And if you're like me, you can't stand wrapping presents. It's tough to do. Well, get this. Pajamagram includes free gift packaging. All you have to do is make the order, and delivery is guaranteed by Christmas. Plus, they're backed by a 100% lifetime guarantee. You risk nothing but the look on her face, guys, when she opens the Pajamagram. So go to Pajamagram.com right now. That's Pajamagram.com. Tell them Matt Ray sent you. That's Pajamagram.com. Tell them Matt Ray sent you.
When I'm done running with the wolves after hunting down a half-ton bison, I look forward to a mind-teetering escapade evening on The Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Howdy, this is Catalina, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
welcome back. Tonight on the broadcast, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange is with us, and we're going right into the nutty stuff and right into the Luciferian agenda. And Dave has brought this up. We should have like a little bell for when Dave brings up certain topics. The Luciferian agenda. Dave, go. Ding. You just play the bell. So what do you think, man? What do you think about this? Do you think that... First off, what I want to know is, before we get into this Lucifer subject, because we've had Jordan Maxwell on the show, we've talked about Lucifer, and Jordan does a very good job at describing where the word and the character actually comes from, but he doesn't really talk about taking a side, so he kind of lets the audience pick on what side they want to pick, and then he says, you think you know, but you don't have a clue. That's Jordan Maxwell's favorite thing, right? And that's everybody's awesome. Sitting around going, well, tell us, Mr. Maxwell, you know. So, apparently we have to figure this out on our own. What is your opinion of this character named Lucifer? First, before we get into Hollywood and the symbolism.
Well, you know, Joe, you and I have had many conversations about religion, Gnosticism, all of that stuff, and we always take it back to, you know, the Bible, all that stuff. And we've talked about Lucifer, and I feel, because I was brought up in a Christian background, I always felt that Lucifer was the bad guy. That's how they painted him. And he was out to destroy mankind. He was out to pervert God's creatures, everything, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And as the years go by, talking to you know, different people that have different views, not so much as religious views, I see that, like you just said, this character, Lucifer. So he's more of a character than an actual person or being, right? And what he represents. And so, is he, you know, the incarnate of evil? Is that where it all comes from? You know, that's where you get the whole "the devil made me do it," that thing. And again, you know, there's Lucifer is Lucifer. Do we separate Lucifer from Satan? Do we separate the devil from, you know, from Lucifer? Lucifer is Lucifer, but
right. I understand what you're saying.
And again, you know, when it comes to being brought up in a church background, you do see that Lucifer and Satan and the devil, they're all the same. Now, not so much for me, but I will say one thing: if Lucifer is also, like we talked about, he's called the angel of light. You know, he's the illuminated one. Without him, we probably wouldn't be where we're at today, because a lot of knowledge does come from being illuminated. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for me. I don't know about, you know, people out there or how they take him. So,
well, yeah, we'll see.
That's kind of where I'm at.
There you go. You're talking about perception, which is perfect, because that's when you start to get to the truth of the matter. If I show you let's say I put up an image and say Lucifer, and it's got horns, and I show you pictures of hell and all these other things, what's it going to make you think about? It's going to make you think about, you know, it's not hard to, we talked about this last night, it's not hard to fascinate the brain and to speak to the right side of the brain and make you feel a certain way when a word comes up. But the literal meaning of the word, and if you can go to the Latin Vulgate and break it down as much as you want, it means bringer of the dawn, also the morning star. Now, or light bringer. So you got light bringer, bringer of the dawn, and the morning star. Now, before anybody moves on from there, it also represents, in some places, like the planet Venus. Or if you looked at it as an adjective and you got all Wikipedia with it, it means light bringing, right? But remember when Bill Cooper did his mysteries on the radio, before he started down the path of the mystery schools and revealed a lot of sacred teachings to you, you have to understand that Bill Cooper already had an opinion of this stuff. He already had his mind made up about it. He was 100% Christian, but he did say at the very beginning, I don't understand why Jesus and these stories and both Lucifer call themselves the morning star. I will admit that I do not understand it, and it's still a great mystery to many, many people right now. Do you think I have the answers for it? Hell no, right? And, no pun intended. But I think we might try to find out tonight. If you just look at the word itself, it's not really that scary. But as soon as you attach the word, you attach the devil to it in your mind. I mean, let's be honest. As soon as you hear the word Lucifer, most people they just start thinking about the devil. I don't know when the word, I actually don't know. So if you look in the King James Bible, it's only mentioned once. And that's what everybody used to tell me, Dave, growing up. If you remember that, read your Bible. Read the Bible. It'll tell you who Lucifer is. And I'm like, okay, there's only one verse in Isaiah about it. That's it. It doesn't say he's a bad guy or anything. Or just because angels have fell and they rebelled, does that make them evil? I don't know. But what did it say in the book of Isaiah exactly? It's called the morning star. So we know the morning star is the planet Venus, and some of you still think it's UFOs. Have you ever had anybody come tell you that was a UFO? The planet Venus?
Not me, no.
Never. You've never had one person in your life think that the planet Venus was a UFO. They did to me many times. I'm like, man, that's Venus. But our beliefs, we associate with them, Satanism, but that's only due to Christian interpretation of the fallen angel. But it is a whole different belief system, right? Are you thinking that people are, I think I'm getting a vibe from you that you think people are getting tricked into thinking that Lucifer's a good guy so they can learn a bunch of magic and stuff, and then they get duped to realize that it's really evil. Is that what you're worried about? Because I think that's what a lot of people are worried about.
Well, I'm worried about, what I'm really worried about is a lot of the dark side of not just magic, but whatever it is that is our reality. I've always thought that there is a good and evil, a dark and a light. It's always in different stories and in film, especially. I mean, look at Star Wars. We talk about that too.
Mm-hmm.
You have the dark side, and then you have, the Jedi. And I wanted to bring this up too, Joe, because we talked about this. We talked about the Dark Crystal,
the Republic,
and then you have the mystics, right? But check it out. They're actually going to do a prequel for the Dark Crystal. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Well, I get what you're saying. But, for Luciferians, just to let you know, what they think that Lucifer is an enlightening thing, that the Luciferian principles, they teach you truth and the freedom of your will and how to worship the inner self as your ultimate potential. But it still can turn into dogma because you don't want to worship deities and you don't want to worship idols. But I really believe that you should test everything before you accept it. And it doesn't matter how, and this is why I told everybody, 4 shows ago, if you're going to get into this stuff and you're going to practice astral travel and magic and all these things, to do it super slow and to test it out before you just jump head first. Now, I've had magicians come on the show and tell me they just don't believe in that. It's total crap, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But, regardless if, Lucifer's the devil or not, or if he's just some metaphor or archetype, we all know that when it comes to the Illuminati, when it comes to learning things, that's what it represents. Just plain old trying to figure stuff out, knowledge and learning stuff. And some people even think Lucifer is actually the real savior of the world, and that Lucifer helps people champion growth. And that's straight out of Wikipedia, right? And I don't really believe that. if you want to know what I believe, and this is only based on my research so far, I believe that Lucifer is merely a metaphor of the fallen state at which we are right now.
It does talk about that. It does say that. I'm reading the Isaiah 14:12 verse that says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning star?" Or son of the morning. How art thou cut down to the ground? I mean, and that's not the whole verse, but I don't want to make this about a Christian show or anything like that.
Sure.
I don't want to do that, but I do want to point that out. That's where you start, in my opinion. And yeah, you hit it on the head. It does seem like a metaphor from being fallen.
Mm-hmm. So a couple of things can be happening here. What's the name of that show again? Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, or it's a different show? It's a spinoff of it, right?
So let's go back a little bit. The real Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, is actually from an Archie comic book. It's a spinoff of the Archies, and it was in more of a cheesy, goofy kind of a sense. I believe that this was like set in the 50s or something like that, the 60s. But as the years went by, I'm not sure when it happened. Maybe, I don't know, the 90s, mid-90s, I don't know. They started making the Archie comic book into a darker comic book, and there's a lot actual murders and a lot of drama stuff. So, and they even got a new show called Riverdale that's based on the Archies, the darker side of Archies. But the character Sabrina was actually is actually a teenage witch. And there was another sitcom in, I believe, the early 90s that was called Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And it was like this cheesy sitcom. It was comedy. And she did magic. It was kind of like the Bewitched thing. Today, they have a new show called The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Now, they really took this character and they ran with it. And I'll tell you what, a lot of symbology in witchcraft, Wicca, whatever you want to call it, they do associate it with dark magic.
Yeah, of course they do. It's Hollywood.
Right. It's Hollywood. But it goes along with this Lucifer show also that's on Fox, and just about every show I've been watching that has to deal with Lucifer or the devil, it almost seems like they are painting it in a brighter picture. But the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, again, they go through a lot of the spells and incantations, whatever you want to call it, and the symbolism. Now, earlier, remember when I brought it up, you were looking at it and you brought up the pentagram or the pentacle.
Yeah, you and I were talking about it.
And, there's that symbology that's in there. They don't really talk about it like we were talking about it earlier today, but it's there. And the way they show it is on the Baphomet creature, if you want to call it that, that they use the actual, it's almost identical, the statue that's the controversial statue that the Satanic Temple wanted to erect in one of the courthouses. I believe it's in Arkansas.
Yeah, they did. Lucian Greaves or whatever his name is brought it out here and used it. And they don't even use the original version of the oldest picture of Baphomet we can look at I would think is probably from Eliphas Levi's book, which isn't even the same as what that statue shows. And what you'll see is a lot of these Satan worshipers or whatever they call themselves, they'll take a symbol and they'll spice it up with evil. Mm-hmm. They can take a good symbol. For instance, the basic one, we could use the pentagram. What's the first thing they do with that? Well, make sure we got to turn that thing upside down. Well, why do they do that? Because of what it represents and what it does to your mind. And then they put little children looking up at Baphomet, and they try to make sure that the statue's dark. Really, there's a lot of controversy over Baphomet. It was an original symbol that was used by the Knights Templar that simply, if you read anything by Eliphas Levi, kind of is a symbol for as above, so below. That's all it is, a symbol, a Hermetic symbol. But what happens is when, this is just my opinion, by the way, but what happens is when satanic churches or cults or anybody trying to push a dogma start using symbols like that, they twist it up to give you a certain idea of what it means, to freak you out. And from here on out, you're going to associate that symbol with the devil. And most people do. If they see a statue of Baphomet, they start thinking about the devil. Nothing we can do about it now. It's ingrained, right? And so, of course, Hollywood's going to do the same thing. And then it just buries deep inside your mind even more that Baphomet is the devil. But I don't think Baphomet necessarily represents the devil. For instance, if we took the pentagram and you ask yourself, most of us have, I'm sure some people listening even have pentagram necklaces right now. I know I have one, but it represents the human figure. It actually represents a lot of things. It represents the human figure with 4 limbs. One, the apexes of the head is at the top. It's also called the sign of the microcosm. The Kabbalists in the Zohar called it the microprosopos, which is, I don't want to get people upset with me like I did last night. God forbid any real information comes out, But when the superior point of the pentagram is sticking up, it represents the Savior of the world, like rising. It's a good sign. It's a Christ symbol. It also represents the dominion of the Spirit over the 4 elements. So magicians, white magicians, would use the pentagram to command, elemental creatures that inhabit these internal regions of like fire and air, water and earth, and they used it. I mean, the belief was that demons were afraid of the sign, that it was a really powerful symbol. As long as it's pointing up, it doesn't bother most people. But as soon as you turn it upside down, that freaks everybody out. Right? Would you agree on that?
Yeah.
It just
Absolutely.
does. It freaks everybody out. So do you think at any point Hollywood's going to use the pentagram with it pointing up? I bet you they probably never do.
Well, now that's interesting that you say that, because on the statue itself, the statue does have the pentagram or pentacle on its forehead, and it is pointed up.
Well, that's good then. There's nothing wrong with that.
Very interesting. Because, normally it would be pointing down. And, again, a lot of people have, dissected it, turn it every which way, so they could see what exactly is happening in the symbology. But if you go, if you just go to Google and type in pentagram, you'll see it's like, it's endless. There's all kinds of different symbologies and different pictures that are actually in the star itself. You even mentioned there's a pentagon in there.
Yeah. That's when you get into high magic understanding is polygons. You trace it out, and then you got a pentagon around the outside of it. Inside the pentagram is another upside down pentagram, and then it just keeps switching. And so what you start to see is that these symbols actually, and a lot of people use them for scrying too. They just stare at them. It takes you into the internal realms. So these symbols represent, what I'm saying is, a symbol is powerful when it represents a lot of different things, and all of those things are true. A square is a square, but it's also a rectangle, right? Or something like that. You heard that in school? Well, think about the pentagram. It represents a lot of different things. It's the sign of the Word made flesh, and that's according to the directions of the rays, if it represents God or the devil. What I mean by rays is if it's pointing up or down. These are the Gnostic teachings. They also say that the upside down represents the goat of Mendes. But when the thing is sticking up towards the sky, a lot of mystery schools, Gnostics and all these, they believe it represents Christ. But when it's upside down, it represents Satan. So you really got to figure out who Christ and Satan are in the myths. Not to pound people's head in with the Bible and say it's all 100% literal and real, you know, because we know from some of the Gospels and some of the Gnostic Gospels that there was kind of two different stories going on. And
Right.
the Nicaeans were the ones that decided which ones we were going to believe. So we only got 4 Gospels out of all that. Out of all of those books, the Nicene Creed decided that we were going to get 4, and the rest of them didn't matter. That's what you should be paying attention to, because, like you said, it's a two-edged sword. If I show you a sword, it's just a sword. It could be beautiful, right? It's got 2 edges.
Mm-hmm.
What if I showed you a picture of a sword with fire and blood and war all around it? What's that make you think of?
Well, right. It's violence and death and everything that goes with it.
Right.
It's evil.
So it's just a symbol. So symbols aren't evil, innately evil in themselves. Can we agree on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's not just the pentagram. There's symbolism in all kinds of different things. And I mean, even like, you know, the chevron, the gas station, you know, it has real chevrons in it. They all have a lot of these different symbolisms that we know have meaning to them are used in advertising.
Oh,
they know
yeah.
what they're doing. You know, they know what they're doing. I mean, I remember first seeing the Monster drink, and you see that it looks like there's these 3 symbols that are like the scratch marks of the monster, but I think it relates to like the beast or 666 or something like that. There's, you know, all kind. A lot of people do this research. I don't do this kind of research, but I pick it up after they do, and then I just report it. But it's there. You know, if you do go back and look at it, you'll see that it's been going on for the ages.
Yeah, and you got to be careful where people, they try to take you down a road, and you got to be careful about going down roads with certain people. That's the difference between journalism and just talking, right? So journalism will go back and they'll try to actually find the history of things and all that stuff, or try to get as much documented proof as they can, not to trump somebody, but that's what it's all about, getting as much evidence as possible about whatever subject you're trying to talk about to get as close to the truth, if not the truth. That's it. And
right.
What you'll find on YouTube and a lot of these conspiracy channels and stuff is, I would say 70% of them aren't doing that. And what sucks is that the 30% of the people that are doing actual research are getting booted out with the other people because YouTube, which is another thing we can talk about, that the governments and corporations and all these other people are stifling content creators. What Crow 777 calls modern day book burning, because it's out of control. And I will agree, it is out of control.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of those times where you have to ask yourself if that phrase out of control is a bad thing. Why would you want to control people's thoughts about what they think about? So even if it's crazy. I mean, I've watched videos where people pull symbols out of the dirt and they think everything is a symbol for the Illuminati and just insane stuff. But, you know, they should have that right to think that. Why should I control that person? Now, eventually he's going to figure it out. Well, here's what they think. He's got 1 million views and he's influencing all these peoples. I don't think that's true at all. Just because somebody's got 1 million views. I've seen videos that have 1 million views on them and everybody just stayed for possibly 2 or 3 minutes just to laugh at the guy, but they wanted to see it. You know, but they'll still, I'm going down a different road here. We'll stay on this symbolism, but they'll still, you know, get rid of it. They got rid of Alex Jones and a bunch of other people. And a lot of people don't like Alex. He's a little crazy, right? So he gets a little crazy, but some of the information he was bringing out was real. So he would give you quality, good information, documented information, and then he would slap his opinion on it. And that causes movements of people. That's what causes cults. Once it goes away from journalism and you start following somebody's opinion on things, that's when you're in trouble, I think. Doesn't mean they're wrong. You just got to be careful about it. Mm-hmm. But the pentagram, it really, if you look at it, represents the human. It represents the 4 elements, the microcosmos. If it's aiming up, the Gnostics used to say, and I say Gnostics, let's just say mystery schools. that they used to say that it represents Christ. When it's pointing down, it represents the fallen angel. You can look at Buddhism and you could say that's the Bodhisattva or an inverted flaming star. But everybody here, if you think about it, fell from heaven. What if they're talking about, and this is just my thoughts, okay? Look, you can figure this out for yourself, but what if these symbols are actually representing the story of what happened to us? Right?
Interesting, yeah.
I mean, we came to Earth. Most of us talk about like we know what the hell's really going on, but we don't know what's going on. We're in a fallen state of forgottenness. And there was a band. Do you remember that band called A Perfect Circle?
Yeah.
And they wrote
one of my favorites.
They wrote that song 3 Libras. Do you remember that song?
I don't remember that song. I really remember Judas, but yeah.
Yeah, well, in that song, he talks about eyes of a fallen angel. You know, you don't see me at all. If you really look at that song, I think he's trying to get across that, you know, that's what we are. Some people are fallen angels here, and they don't know what the hell happened. Maybe it was us that got kicked out of heaven. Do you ever think of that?
Could be.
That's all I'm saying. But, yeah, we are coming up on another break here. But it's an interesting conversation. I feel like I'm doing more of the talking here, though, Dave. You're going to have to keep me straight, brother.
That's all right, man. It's your show.
We got to go up on a break here, though, guys. I'm Joe Root. This is Lighting the Void. Luciferianism is what we're talking about now, what it really is, or what the ideas really mean, and a little bit of Hollywood. Stay with us.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Magic, the occult, history, health, news. These are just a few subjects discussed on my radio broadcast, The Secret Teachings. I offer unique and objective perspectives on new and old subjects alike, while welcoming guests and presenting my own research with no filter. Visit my website for more information and to subscribe to my archive at www.thesecretteachings.info, and find me on The Fringe FM live Monday through Friday, midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM.
Hi, this is Sammy. Join us in the Deep South as we're lighting the void with Joe Roop on The Fringe FM.
This is Paranormal News. I'm John Jeter. The first ever recording of what winds on Mars sound like has been captured by NASA's InSight lander. After touching down on the red planet following a 6-month trip through space, sensors recorded winds blowing at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. The frequency of the sounds are similar to what comes out of a subwoofer, which is hard for most of us to hear. NASA raised the audio 2 octaves to be more perceptible to the human ear. Over the coming years, they'll be able to collect even more data on the Mars 2020 rover, which will be equipped with a pair of microphones. Not even a week after arriving at near-Earth asteroid Bennu, the OSIRIS-REx probe has found hydrated minerals, suggesting that liquid water was once plentiful on the 1,640-foot wide space rock.
It's got a lower density than even these carbonaceous chondrite meteorites, which tells us that it probably is made of these hydrated minerals, which are generally low density.
The University of Arizona's Dante Loretta, principal investigator on the OSIRIS-REx mission, said, "We targeted Bennu precisely because we thought it had water-bearing minerals." NASA also released the awesome picture of Bennu that was taken on December 2nd as the spacecraft approached it. Scientists believe Bennu is likely a pile of rubble that coalesced after a massive impact shattered a larger object hundreds of millions of years ago. You'll find these stories at paranormalradio.com. I'm John Jeter, Paranormal News.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
Cool. Thanks. Welcome back to the program. I really appreciate you, Sammy, for the shout out there. Yes, the calling number is 1-800-588-0335. That's toll free from the United States or Canada. You can text in the show at 501-777-5631. We're talking conspiracy here with Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange at beyondthestrange.com. And remember that you can always help out the show. You could donate using the donate button. You can also buy a t-shirt. You can use the Amazon portal or grab something off of the Amazon wish list as well. But before the break, we were discussing Luciferianism, and it is a confusing thing because Lucifer does represent enlightenment to a lot of people, represents knowledge. But here's the thing I think we need to understand, Dave, about some of these mysteries, and this is where I think people go wrong, is when they have that aha moment and they learn something. The first thing they want to do is make a church about it, right? Or they want to, instead of just understanding it as a symbol and a myth and metaphor, and maybe possibly real history, but highly doubtful, they want to build an idea and a church around it. And that's where things get a little creepy. And if you want to talk about a two-edged sword, in my opinion, magic is a two-edged sword. It's like playing with a gun. If you don't know what you're doing, don't play with it. And you can tell that a lot of people have done this. So, for instance, like, what's his name? Anton LaVey, the guy that made the Satanic Bible. And he tells you exactly, so he gives you some information, right? He tells you that one of the 4 crown princes of hell is Lucifer, one of 4. And he's particularly of the east, the Lord of the air. And he's described as the bringer of light, the morning star, also intellectualism and enlightenment. But Lord of the air is based on a Bible verse. Think about that. Ephesians 2:2, which uses the phrase Prince of Power. I think it's like Prince of the Power of the Air. But that also refers to the ancient Greek god Zeus, but that later became conflicted with Satan. So there's a lot of conflict there. So what I would suggest people do is study the symbols, realize that it might be a metaphor for something that lives in the internal realms, but don't make a church out of it, and don't run from it just because it's a little bit scary. It's not bad to learn about things, but if you remember the Adam and Eve story, what was the thing that put people away from God the most? Was the knowledge of good and evil.
And so knowledge itself is not a bad thing, but you can't, I think some people kind of worship it. You know what I mean, Dave? Like they want to get super intellectual and they want to be above other people. So they want to learn as much knowledge as they can so they can get in their little tower and look down upon the world. And then the creepy little ego starts coming in, right? I think that's the trick. That's the real trick.
That's funny that you mentioned that, because I was just reading some of this this website that talks about the difference between Lucifer and Satan.
Mm-hmm.
So it says here that Lucifer is actually the angel of God that he named in heaven as one of the most, or perhaps the most perfect angel ever created. It was only when Lucifer was cast down from heaven that his alternate entity was known as Satan, and Lucifer was banished because of his pure egoism, not to mention his pride, that was regarded as the greatest sin. And hence, by theory, Lucifer is the first one to have committed sin. And Lucifer is the name of the angel, whereas Satan is the name given to the devil. So there are two separate entities, and a lot of myths. There's four, like I was telling you earlier, there's four worlds or four kings of hell. I think it's like Lucifer, Leviathan, Satan, and I forget the other one. Mm-hmm.
But it's funny. Now, here's another thing that you need to think about, right? If Lucifer is the Lord of the air, and particularly the Lord of the East, and I don't want people, before you start thinking it's evil, and it kind of represents evil, but where do all of the people that are going through initiate schools, where do they face? You're taught to face the East, right? In the schools. That's where you face. And what's in the East? The morning star. Right? Now, remember I said earlier that the morning star is also been told as both Jesus and Lucifer. So I think what happens is well, as soon as people learn that, okay, oh no, Lucifer represents the morning star, and oh no, that's Venus. But they forget about polarity. They also forget that Christ also called himself the morning star, and it also rises in the east. If you want, you can even call the morning star the sun, because it actually is a star, and where does it rise? So all of these myths come from all our skies. These are myths, right? But what do these things represent? They represent the internal world. And what happens is you got one side that worships, spirit and love, and they don't want to learn any knowledge, so they create a little cult, and they call it fundamental Christianity, right? Where they just give their name, they just give their life to Jesus, and they let everything go, and they don't learn anything anymore because they don't have to, because it's all about love. You know what? That's fine. Then you got another church that worships, let's say, a different morning star, and we're talking about the inverted pentagram, and this is all about knowledge and intellectualism and enlightenment, and a lot of them are doing it just to get power over their life and all these things. And now you got two cults, right? But what I'm trying to get people to understand is, and if, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dave, or slap me around if you want, I'm trying to get people to understand is this is a polar paradigm. That what you really need to understand is both of these things live inside you. And because you have been given the power of choice, you only are allowed to serve one master at a time. So every choice you make is based on one or two things. So this is what you kind of learn as you go on and learn occult wisdom. You start learning this stuff. Everything has to do with polarity. That's why they put that checkerboard floor on the ground when you walk into a Masonic hall. And you have to learn to be able to walk between these two worlds. And the truth of it is the savior of you is inside you, right where they said it was. And it's all based on the choices that you make. And then I know I'm not going to hear some of the old Baptist preachers right now. Now you're talking works. Remember they used to do that? You talking works. We moved past. I ain't talking works. And if you think works is a bad thing and you really worship every literal word of the Bible, then ask yourself why Jesus said, I know your works, and then he departed from certain people in Revelations. If works didn't matter, he wouldn't have talked about it. But that's besides the point. That's all Christian blah, 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 blah stuff. But what is Hollywood doing to you? That's what we're really talking about. Hollywood is showing you the bad symbol, you know, the representation of the fallen angels, Lucifer, the light bringer, enlightenment, all these different things. And instead of teaching you what all this stuff is, they're painting it with devils and horns and all of this stuff. So you're going to do one or two things. You're going to run from it in fear, or you're going to create a little satanic church because you had an aha moment. That's what I see going on. That's just my opinion, though. Please do your own research.
Don't forget that Hollywood is all about money.
Damn right.
And money's power. You know, and they're all about so they're all about both, and they'll do anything they can. And I say they because we still don't know who they are, but Hollywood's part of it. The entertainment business, you know, all of that. And there's a lot going on, in my opinion, with the entertainment business as well. I haven't forgot about Sabrina. I'm not done with it yet, but I do want to shift over to something really quick.
Sure.
And that's the internet. And I mentioned this earlier to you, Joe. I'm not sure if you know who this is, but there is a new player in town when it comes to the internet, especially on YouTube. And her name is Poppy. And just by the name Poppy, you'd think, well,
what's she talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Poppy. But yeah, so Poppy is a artist, and she's represented as a female. I say that loosely, and I have my suspicions, but that's, you know, for another time, maybe later tonight. I don't know, or for another time, another show. But Poppy seems to be really creating something different than most pop stars do. Say Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, you know, all of them before and after. Even, you know, Lady Gaga and what's her name? I already forgot her name.
Well, how do you spell this? Is it spelled like it sounds? Poppy? Poppi or whatever?
Poppy.
Poppy. Poppy.
Mm-hmm.
Tells you how much I'm into this stuff. What are Poppy and Marilyn Manson? So what is this? Is this another like a fab star or something?
So Poppy does kind of come off like that at first, but in my opinion, she is a rabbit hole. You go and start researching her, you start listening to her music, and one of the latest songs that came out is called Time's Up. And if you listen to the lyrics, it talks a lot about extinction of humans on the earth. And mainly it's because of an AI robot takeover.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things I was talking about is Poppy comes off as she's trying to say is, oh, am I really a girl or am I an AI? Am I a robot? What am I?
Do you ever think that maybe these cats, Dave, are doing this because they know that it's going to give them a lot of press?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. But let's think about this for a second, because this is really taking off in the AI robot world. So they do their research, they create this character, then they start throwing out the questions. Am I a human being or am I an AI? Am I a robot? Is it bad? Is it a bad thing or is it a good thing? There you go again. You have good or bad, light or dark. Now here's another kicker to this thing, Joe. Poppy has created her own church.
Of course. Of course.
Cult. No. I mean, literally, it's the Church of Poppy. There is what is the website? It's not like Church of Poppy, but it has to do with Poppy and Poppyism or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but if you go to one of these videos and you look at the comments, it's almost like not a Marilyn Manson thing, but an actual Charles Manson thing.
Yeah,
where it's real scary, dude.
Well,
it's really scary.
It's scary for people that don't have a head on their shoulders. Yeah.
And and a lot of those people are targeted are youth. The youth have, they're very impressionable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially through music.
True.
And when you start listening to some of the music that she's doing, it's some people can leave it, and some other people will be like, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
All right, hold on just a second. Do you like Black Sabbath?
I love Black Sabbath.
Do you not remember when? I mean, you're old as dirt, right, Dave? So
sure am.
Do you remember when the parents used to come around and they would tell you not to listen to Black Sabbath because it was devil worship, and the kids, they would play records backwards so they can hear devil messages and all this stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the same thing back then, but now it's not about just the devil and God. Now it's the conspiracies are much bigger. And, I think that, look, I don't think there's a big conspiracy behind this. I don't think that there's a magical influence behind it. But what I do think is that maybe some of these people know about symbolism and polarity, and they know about some of the things that we talk about. So when they go on stage and they put up the symbols in your face and they make churches, literal churches around themselves, they do it to stir up crap because it's just publicity. And there's something I've learned recently is there's really no such thing as bad publicity if you're trying to get famous. And if you've ever met anybody from that neck of the woods over there, that's all they care about.
Well, let's go. Let's take this a little a bit further. What does it really come down to?
It goes deeper than that, Joe.
Do you believe in heaven or do you believe in hell?
I believe in both.
And so if you do, then you're going to either go to one or the other. And so what's happening here is if you're good, you go to heaven. If you're bad, you go to hell, right?
I mean, if you believe in that paradigm, yeah. I don't believe that in that literal paradigm, if that's what you're asking me.
Well, I mean that's what's put out there. I'm generally speaking.
Yeah. There's people that okay, I get what you're saying. There's people that believe in that literal paradigm of God's going to burn me if I don't be good, and if I'm good, I get to go to a place full of unicorns. Yeah, there are people that believe that.
I don't know about unicorns, but yeah, I know what you're saying too. I have my own theory about unicorns.
It's kind of sad that people still believe that, but yeah, okay.
Well, and that's the thing, because remember we talked about that as well. It's like, going towards the light. Are you going to go to heaven? Are you going to go to hell? That kind of thing. But what I'm trying to get at is not just with Poppy, not just with Sabrina, not with just, Satanism or the Church of Satan or even the churches, is we're on a daily basis faced with the decision of what we're going to do. Is it good or is it bad? Or is it just what it is? Yeah.
I think it's bad that people feel like they have to make that decision on a daily basis. Honestly.
But that's what's ingrained in our thinking, right?
Yeah, and now, I mean, I did talk to a true Satanist on the air. Heather Wade had a show one time where she had a Satan worshiper on the air, right? And this guy, when I called in, he told me that he knew the day I was going to die, and he tried to instill fear into me. This was before I started doing the show. But his whole ideas were around, going to other planets, artificial intelligence, pretty much becoming a cyborg so he can live longer. So, yeah, I mean, that side of things, if you want to call it left-hand side of things, is all about illumination and knowledge, but not so much about love and spirit, if you want to look at it that way. I mean, just because things are polar doesn't mean they don't exist. Mm-hmm. It exists. But where does it exist? You see what I mean? People believe that there's a real hell that they're going to burn in if they don't do what they're told, and it's 2019. We still have racism in this damn world in 2019. Might as well call it 2019.
It's horrible. Yeah.
We still have people that are super homophobic. I'm talking about crazy homophobes. I live around some of them in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So how easy do you think it would be to manipulate a crowd of people that have minds that are just either intaken by fear all of the time and stupidity?
And I'm glad you asked that question, because I feel that partly is what Hollywood is doing. They're generating a buzz.
Yeah, and I think a lot of conspiracy theorists think they're doing it on purpose, though. You know, what I mean is they're drawing people into the dark side on purpose, and I don't really think that. I think they're just using it, like you say, to generate a buzz, to get money, and that's it.
Well, I'm saying that because that could be one aspect of it. The other aspect maybe is what you just said. Maybe that is what they're doing.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, all you have to do, if you want to know how to become famous, all you have to do is go to Google Trends, go to YouTube Trends, Twitter Trends, and look and just search around and see what people are talking about, and say you're a rising star that's about to make their debut. Let's take, what's her name? Katy Perry. You remember when she did Dark Horse?
Yes.
Oh, man, she's talking about playing with magic and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying magic isn't real. I'm not saying evil's not real or good's. But what happened there is she started putting symbolism into her music because it stirs up crap. And when you stir up crap in Hollywood, you get a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of fame.
Mm-hmm.
You also get some people that are obsessed with you. Now, I'm in that kind of state of mind that there's no help for those people. You can just present what you know and your opinions to them, and if they want to obsess over this stuff, then let them do it. But you got to be able to move on eventually. Let me ask you something, Dave. Do you believe in heaven and hell? Do you believe you're going to burn if you don't do God's will, that you're going to burn in hell or you're going to go to heaven after you die? And that's it. No more Dave.
Well, I flip-flop.
You don't
honestly
know?
I don't know, because I don't know if I'm just going to go back into the ground and be worm food, or am I going to continue on, in either a paradise or in total darkness? That's what I believe, is being separate from God, the way that it's brought to you in whatever religion you believe in or faith, is hell. That's the whole point, is if you are separate from God or from his son or from heaven, then you might as well be burning in hell and gnashing of teeth.
Isn't that what happens here on Earth?
It depends.
Depression is at an all-time high. Anxiety is at an all-time high. Opiate addiction is at an all-time high. Xanax addiction is getting worse. Teal Swan just did a presentation and a talk about how that separation causes crime in America. And she really dug into it. It wasn't just something that she came up with in her head. She really dug into it and looked at it. That truly the criminals that do criminal acts they do it because they're separated. They feel lonely and tossed from the world. At some point in their life, something crazy had happened to them, and they became lonely, and they perceive themselves as super lonely and separate. And I don't just mean like Dave's over there and I'm over here, or I don't have a girlfriend. I'm talking about really lonely, like they don't belong here. Lonely.
Mm-hmm.
That separation.
What causes that, though?
Hollywood. That's what causes it, right?
That's part of it.
That's part of it. People want to live. They believe they have to live up to an image. It is a dirty game. I'm not gonna argue with you on that. But what are they supposed to do? Quit the business? They ain't gonna do that. You know they ain't gonna do that.
But even before Hollywood, there was there was this organization or group of people. Again, people call them the Illuminati. People call them the Cabal. People call them secret societies.
Mm-hmm.
There is someone behind all this.
You think
so?
Because
otherwise it wouldn't be there. That's what I think.
We can touch on that, because I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. But we can touch on that. We were up against a break. Hey, but Dennis makes a good point. there was a guy, I put this up on Facebook, and I got this from Destry, who's a listener of the show, where a guy actually tricks Times Square into thinking he's someone famous. Just mental gymnastics. We talked about this last night on the show. Mental gymnastics. All he did was pretty himself up, bought a couple of bodyguards. I think he got out of a limo or something, had a couple of people take snapshots of him, and everybody believed this guy was famous. So it kind of shows you how easily people are manipulated in groups, right? But I'm not, I don't want to be one of those radio show hosts that are here talking about everybody's stupid except me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's a fundamental, you know, we fall for stuff just because certain things are happening. If you go on my Facebook page, you'll see it. Dennis put the link in the Spreaker chat. We are up against the break. I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void. The website is lightingthevoid.com. We'll be right back after these messages.
Out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTOK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
All right, everyone, this is Justin from the UK. Excuse the chitty. If you're into the Fringe and you want to hear the brass tacks, my old china plate, Joe Roop and his guests on Light in the Void will open your mince pies. You need to shut your northern self and use your 10-speed gears and listen to them bubble. You could hear a Barry Crocker, no Brussels, but he ain't no holy friar. Anyway, you beat a Barnaby Rudge and take a butcher's.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Your home has needs. It needs a healthy, dry environment all year round. Start by getting rid of the worst air in the basement and crawl space, where the problems begin and make the whole house sick. Introducing the new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. It has advanced technologies to continuously reduce moisture, mold, and odors, and expel radon, gases, and pollutants. And now, Wave units include carbon monoxide detection to automatically expel air at a high rate and send you an alert. It also has an app so you can remotely monitor the conditions. Wave is a comprehensive, maintenance-free, affordable solution that will transform your entire home. Protect your home and family with what it needs. Give it a new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. For more information, call 888-717-WAVE. That's 888-717-WAVE. Or go to dryhealthyhome.com. That's dryhealthyhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Greetings, galactic community. This is Suzanne Ross, host of Sci-Spy Radio, every Wednesday evening from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific. Join me for this brand new show featuring a revolutionary new genre, Sci-Spy, merging science and spirituality to give us answers to the greatest mysteries of creation. Together, scientists scientific discovery and spiritual revelation reveal the truth about who we are, where we came from, why we're here, and where we're going. Tune in to Sci-Spy Radio every Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific and discover the truth for yourself at thefringe.fm.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Hi folks, it's a holiday season with hope in the air. Things to look forward to and no time for despair. Health can be a challenge, and so can the mail. So Get the Tea wants to help you by giving you a sale. Buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month for free. No limit. That's buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month free. That's a savings of $35. Where? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Scroll down on the front page and find the buy 2 get 1 free ad. Click it and save. Orders over $100 get free shipping. Send the gift of life. Change tea at GetTheTea.com. We have many non-GMO organic supplements just waiting for you. This holiday season, enjoy health and Thanksgiving with GetTheTea.com. Want to call us? 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. GetTheTea.com is a proud sponsor of doing what's right. That's GetTheTea.com.
Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM. Want to know what's on The Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm. Lighting the Void. The website is lightingthevoid.com. We are live on the Fringe FM. That's thefringe.fm. Value for value. It's December. It is the dying season. So therefore, the show needs your support. If you can support, please donate at lightingthevoid.com. There's a donate button there. Or use the Amazon portal. Or grab a t-shirt. And if you can't donate, share, like, subscribe, and review. All social media is Lighting the Void. Just give us a follow. Also want you guys to know that my buddies over at Dreamin' Jaguars on YouTube just put out one of their first YouTube videos. You guys need to go check it out. It's really cool. They're going to take you on a wild adventure, kind of like we do here. Dave Cruz is here from BeyondTheStrange.com, and we have been talking about a lot of things conspiracy. I think mainly diabolism. You know, we've been going down that road. Devil worship, kind of. Hollywood and what all this stuff is going on in there with all the symbols. Fascinating conversation. But before the break, at this point in time in the conversation, David said, well, there has to be somebody behind all this stuff, like some secret mystery school or a secret society that's behind Hollywood and all these different corporations that are doing these things to influence people. And what I want to know is that is a very popular opinion in the conspiracy field. And I want to know why it is that makes you believe that, Dave.
Well, you touched on it. I mean, as far as the conspiracy world, and you know, I really want to put it out there that I don't really consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but more of an analyst. And the reason why I say that is because I don't necessarily talk all conspiracy, especially when it comes to my program.
Right.
But it is part of it because I feel that everything is related when it comes to the paranormal or even the conspiracy world, if you want to call it that. You can call it paraspiracy, whatever. You know, it's to me, it's all the same in a sense. Now, why I say that there is a group of people that is possibly controlling the influence on society today is because it's been written down in history. You can start with the Illuminati. You can start with secret societies such as the Rosicrucians. You can even go to religion and other faith groups. It's always been about control. Always been about controlling society. Where there's government, you're going to see religion as well. And a lot of it has to do with the control. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, I kind of, to be honest with you, I kind of don't, because I've studied the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt's Illuminati, and I've also studied what other people think the Illuminati is. I've studied the Rosicrucian material, which was never a system of control. They never wanted to control anything. It was all about internal travel and enlightenment to finding out your higher self. And in fact, the Rosicrucians made it a point to never make themselves apparent. The old Rosicrucians, the real ones, I think there's some pretenders today, but they made it a point not to be made known public. They kept themselves secret because back then, man, if you started talking about, okay, Lucifer is just a symbol for the darkest sides of the internal worlds, and we got to be careful about this stuff, they would call you a devil worshiper and string you up. But I've never seen anything where the Rosicrucians set out to control anyone, ever. And even like the Freemasons. The Freemasons, half of those guys don't even know what they're doing. They've memorized the rituals. They know all of what they're saying. They have to get through to increase their rank, but they don't know, like Albert Pike says in his book, that they're actually going through the Kabbalah. They don't know what it's all about. And so if anything is controlled in secret societies, I would say some of them are controlling the guys that are in the secret societies. They play this game with their initiates as they progress, and there's a reason for that. Does that mean that there's not secret societies that are controlling certain things? I don't think so. I mean, if they were, I believe they would be politicians, like, more corporate head type people, like the Council for National Policy, people that were trying to invade other countries and make sure that we get all these monuments out. People like that. The priestcraft definitely controls society. Mm-hmm. Definitely. We were talking about that the other night with Manly P. Hall, that there was a great initiate system, but the priestcraft pretty much took it over back in ancient Egypt, and I'm talking about super ancient. They got in there when they weren't supposed to, people that weren't ready, and they used it for power, and they used religion for power, and they used the symbols of religion and kind of screwed everything up, and it just kept getting watered down from there. And so now a lot of people think that there's these all-seeing eye group of humans somewhere, or hybrids or reptilians controlling everything, and maybe there is, but I see no evidence of it. None. Maybe a little bit of circumstantial, but nobody can ever give you a solid answer to that. Who is controlling all this stuff? Name them. Point them out. Show me their buildings. Don't show me buildings with symbols on them. Give me some names. And Alex Jones, I think, got pretty close, right, when he jumped into that, what was that thing he was at? I can't think of the ritual he stumbled upon. I think he got pretty close to finding out some stuff there.
Oh, are you talking about Bohemian Grove?
Yeah, Bohemian Grove. That was pretty epic, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he actually got close enough to see the people that were involved with the society and the crazy rituals they were doing. But he didn't, he picked out some people there. Now it's all public. But still, nobody really truly knows what the hell's going on there. They just have ideas. And now, if you look at, think about it like this way. If some of you guys are still religious and you go to church and you have a belief, are there not other churches that don't believe the same way you believe, that you feel are dragging your religion through the mud? It's the same thing in secret societies. It's the same thing in the mystery teachings. It's like a tool. You learn for knowledge. You learn the stuff, but the second you give into a church or a group or anything like that, I think you've screwed up. I really do, man. It's hard. I'm not saying that there's not, Dave. All I'm saying is I think that it's a little bit more misstrued than it actually is.
That could be. I'll agree with that. But I kind of, going back to some of the secret societies, I may have misspoken about the Rosicrucians, but you do have to agree for its time, it was an influence. And if it was an influence, then that is partly control.
I don't know what you mean. Like an influence, the Rosicrucians influenced who when they started?
If they're a faith and order, anything that's organized is an influence.
Is an influence. Well, that comes down
people.
That comes down to a matter of choice, right? There's organized religion all over the place. You don't see me at the doorsteps there, right?
Of course, I understand that, but I'm also saying that it's still an influence, and influence is part of control.
Sure, I'll agree.
I'm not saying that the Rosicrucians were trying to control society. But I am trying to say
let's look at this. There. Influence is a part of control. Okay, but we can look at that in everything, man. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be evil. It's everything. So basically, it comes down to the personal choice.
Right.
I think what a lot of people are afraid of is that they're afraid that other people are going to get influenced, right? They're going to get influenced by evil, but what they're really afraid of is that other people are going to learn something that they don't, and that they're going to get powers that they don't understand, or learn something they don't understand, and therefore have control over them. I think that's the deep-seated fear, that there's always something going on, and that the only thing that makes us a slave is our choices of greed. That's it. Greed and all, the 7 deadly sins. They made that whole story for a reason. That's what enslaves us. That's it. I can't see a group of old men standing around, maybe a group of old greedy bastards. More than I could see in a bunch of dudes, and I'm just going to be honest with you, more than I could see a bunch of dudes in robes in a tower somewhere talking about secret stuff, casting their spells, and then we all just fall for it in music and Hollywood and all these other things, and we're all under this spell because we're too stupid to figure it out. I could see some politicians doing that. But real magicians, I think a true magician like Eliphas Levi, Henry Cornelius Agrippa, people of that nature, they would never do things like that. If you read their material. In fact, some of them were actually priests. Some of them were in the church. Some of them stayed Christian. And that was the thing about Freemasonry, that when you join Freemasonry, you could be any religion you want, but it was to learn the parallels of all the religions. The true secret teachings. So when it comes to, that's what I'm telling you at the beginning of the show, when it comes to conspiracy, you can go bat crap crazy if you really, get into this stuff and start looking at everything, because people are showing you, they put all this stuff together and they go, see, it has to be because this lines up and that lines up and they were here and so is over there, so this equals C. No, it don't. It's just circumstantial bullcrap. Do you believe Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy?
I don't know.
I don't. But they put together some circumstantial stuff, didn't they? They put him up in a room. They probably told that cat that he was under a special assignment and that he was going to be a part of watching the president, and someone was going to try to take him out and they needed him there or something. He even said it. I'm just the patsy right before they killed him.
Mm-hmm.
There was somebody controlling that, wasn't there? And guess what they were? Bastard politicians.
Well, we already know about that. I mean, I don't, yeah. Anyways.
Look, I've been in these mystery schools, brother. I've been in Masonic halls. I've been in Rosicrucian halls. I mean, these people know some stuff. They do. But they ain't running the world, I assure you. Some of them can't even wipe the crap off their shirt. They.
When I mentioned the secret societies, and I did mention the secret societies, I didn't mean all of them were trying to run the world through Hollywood. That's not what I was getting at.
Right.
I'm just saying that there are secret societies in the world, and Yeah, they're secret for a reason.
The secrets bother you?
No, because we even talked about that before, and you've cleared up some really good points on that too, because some things probably do need to stay secret or guarded.
Sure.
And, you know, I agree with that. But
well, I mean, let's be honest with each other. If I was sitting in a room right now and you were sitting across from me in a chair and I had somebody beside me, we all three know each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I leaned over and I started whispering in their ear and that person giggled, you know, right? And I just leaned back and we both sat in silence. Would that bother you?
That'd be uncomfortable.
Damn right. It's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They just know there's groups of people doing that stuff. But you can look at all of the rituals. You can look at everything. Pretty much all of it's out now. Even the Golden Dawn, which actually used to be secret, was one of the most secret societies. But all of their rituals and everything they do are online. But that's not what you find online. What you find is people putting a few little pieces of circumstantial evidence together, but they won't touch the books that were actually written because they don't want to. And they put all this stuff together and they say, look, here's a conspiracy. Meanwhile, I think if there's a real conspiracy go on, they must be laughing their ass off at us.
Sure.
You know?
And that's what I mean. It's like, in a sense, it's like you either got to believe it or you don't. But like you just said, I mean, if there really is something going on, they are laughing their asses off.
I think Hollywood's one of them. I think when people do like Katy Perry stuff and they put symbols in their, and I know people disagree with me on this, and that's fine. And you guys know if I find out I'm wrong, I'm going to tell you about it. That's the good thing about the show. I was wrong about chemtrails, wasn't I? So, but I think what these people are doing is they're using all of this hype to get you to buy their records, to listen to their music, to talk about it, to stir up stuff. And they watch us just fumble over each other thinking that there's some dark, evil thing going on. I'm not saying Katy Perry and some of these people don't study the occult. Obviously they do, because they're not just going to blab about stuff they don't know, but they do know that it stirs up crap. And they become famous off of it. And they rake in the money, just sit there and just count it and laugh at us on YouTube. But what bothers me, and where I think you might be right, is if that was just the case, Dave, if that was only the case, then why are the corporate execs and politicians putting pressure on Google to take all the stuff off YouTube?
Exactly.
That's what bothers me. Why do they care, right? What's it to you? What is it to you if somebody comes up with some wild conspiracy theory that's not true? What's it to you if thousands of people do it on a freaking YouTube channel? Why are you bringing this corporate exec into a courtroom trying to tell him that he needs to do something about it?
They are doing something about it.
You know?
I'll tell you exactly what they're doing. One of my videos, which had to deal with the California wildfires and the possibility of DEWs or DEW, direct energy weapons, was a conversation. And that also chemtrails were brought into it. I only mentioned chemtrails maybe one or two times in that video. Everything else, you know, had to do something with other topics. But if you go to the video, at the top of the video, above the title of it, right below the video itself, there is a definition of contrails. And then there's a link. You click on the link, it takes you to Britannica.com, and it talks about contrails. And in the contrails description, there's a little section where it says, did you know that 5% of Americans believe in chemtrails and that the government is up to blah, blah, blah? Mm-hmm. And it's like, what the heck? That's the first time I've seen anything like that on one of my videos. I've never seen it on YouTube before. And then I go on to Lori McDonald's website or YouTube channel, where she does a documentary about hypnotism and regression, hypnosis with extraterrestrials, abductions. And right there again, there's another one there. Talks about alien abductions.
Okay, so we're on common ground here because I do believe that's going on.
So, right. I do. Yeah, this is good because if this is all harmless, or, well, I'm not going to say harmless. I mean, people, like you said, people can go on the deep end sometimes, but I don't see everyday people, holding up a Walmart or something, freaking out about, lizard people,
right?
And I mean, that may have happened maybe once or twice, but that's what I mean is who cares? They basically just label you as a nut and they write you off, right?
Yeah. So
but
why are they trying to stop why are they trying to stop it then?
They're trying to stop it. They're trying to, punish you for it. They're trying to penalize you for it. They'll take your channel off the air. There was a purge recently earlier this year, where a lot of people got kicked off YouTube. Maybe some of them deserved it and some of them didn't. And we can go back to Alex Jones again. He was basically the martyr of all that.
He got kicked off Spreaker too. He got kicked off of everything, man.
He got kicked off everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he even has a website still or not.
Oh yeah, he does.
And that's the only way he's going to probably get through anywhere.
He still does good, man. He's got everybody, buying his products and stuff. So,
but let's say he really wanted his agenda to be about being a truther and getting the truth out. They silenced him. I'm not saying that it is the case, but what if it was the case? What if he really did believe in what he believes in? And I'm not saying he doesn't, but what if he was just a guy who just wanted to get it out there? Hey guys, this is what's happening. Sure. You guys really need to know what's going on. I don't need your money. I just want to get this out there. Well, guess what? They silenced his butt.
Well, let's figure out why. Okay, so let's figure out why certain people got kicked off of YouTube and what were they talking about, right? So I'll give you an example. Like I help run the network along with Eric Markham here. Mm-hmm. We've got people on this network that believe all kinds of different things. Alex, he talks a lot of right-wing stuff. He doesn't believe in a lot of paranormal stuff. He's the pop culture guy. He'll flat out yell that he don't believe in half the stuff we talk about. Mm-hmm. I've got Suzanne Ross, who's had a very spiritual, enlightening time in her life and is trying to teach something, let's say, totally opposite of what Alex is talking about. Then I've got this host. I've got Ryan, who's probably one of the most controversial radio hosts of all time, in our time. And I don't care. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't care as long as they're not saying things that are ridiculous. Like if they start, even if they talk about sexual things, I don't care as long as they can speak as if they're an adult. They start talking like a 12-year-old and start getting pornographic, then I got problems. But that, you know why? That's obvious. Sure. But I don't really care what they say. So that's what makes me think about, what did they say? Okay, well, let's think about this for a second. And I know a lot of people don't want to go here, okay? But let's talk about the shootings for a second. The shootings that happened at schools.
Hmm.
Let's say you were a parent of one of those kids that passed away, that died. Imagine your child dying by gunfire at one of these places, if you can imagine the horrible image. And somebody comes out and says, that's fake, it didn't even happen, and then it spreads all over the place. Do you think that's worth putting a stop to?
If it causes enough damage, of course.
Right. So it depends on what they talked about, if we really think about it now. So what did they talk about that got them booted off? What was the straw that broke the camel's back? I think a lot of it had to do with that.
Mm. Well, it happened, and it has happened in the past, and some people weren't flagged for it at that time. Right. So what changed from then to now? Well, let's look. The term fake news has been going around for the last 2 years. That's around the same time a certain president got elected, which might have cost another politician their seat at the chance of the presidency.
See, I believe in that stuff. Yeah. Oh man.
So think about that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the roundup begins. Are we really truthers? Well, it's possible that they're starting to look at it that way. Or it's just tilting the vote, if you will.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Those terms in office and what they'll do for it. I mean, if anybody showed us about that, it was the Bushes and the Clintons. We know that to be a fact. We've got enough circumstantial evidence and even real evidence to know what these people will do to stay in office. But what I'm trying to do is separate that from wisdom teachings and Illuminati and things like that, because a lot of that stuff is hype. It's hype to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
And what people are doing is they're trying to bring it together, because you got this stuff like Rockefeller and aliens. And like I was telling you, Clyde re-showed that picture yesterday of Hillary Clinton holding a book that was talking about aliens. I believe in those things. I believe in UFOs. I believe that some of them are alien. I believe some people have been abducted. I just believe those things. I do. I can't go to court and prove it. But based on what I've done in the mystery schools, the temples that I've been to, and the research that I've done, and it isn't that much. There's people that have, like Ryan and other people that have studied this way more than me. I don't believe that there is some dark society that's running all of this using magic only, right? I think they just use it. They use mental gymnastics, and they use symbolism, of course. They use some of the things they learned. It's like many Freemasons that go there, they learn this stuff, and then they go into other schools like the Golden Dawn and the Rosicrucians. Sure, there's going to be a lot of black magicians that learn this stuff, and now it's in the wrong hands, which was the whole idea of keeping the stuff secret to begin with. It was the whole idea of why Jesus told his disciples, it's given unto you to know the mysteries. But to others, they think they know the mysteries, but they don't, because he knew that they would be responsible with the powers that they learned, and that they would do it for the good of the planet, because that's the master they served, love and humanity, not just knowledge and power. Right? So that's where I'm at now. Now, it's like 6 months from now, I'll keep digging, and I may be somewhere else. But the thing that bothers me the most, Dave, is every time somebody brings this stuff up about secret societies and these secret societies, I'm like, who, what are they doing? What are they controlling? How are they controlling it? Let's do this. What, who, where, when, why, how? Right, never comes across. They can't. Oh, I just know. Well, how the hell do you know? Have you read this book? Do you read their materials? Do you know what they're talking about? I kind of do. I know what this symbol means. It means the devil. And there's Baphomet. That's it. That's all you got.
Yep. I know what you're saying.
And then it doesn't help that you have other people they think they're doing good things, like Lucian Greaves and all these. Well, we're going to take the Baphomet statue up to a church in Little Rock right here next to where I am at, because they put the 10 Commandments up, and now everybody thinks that, you're the devil and that's the devil, and it's just stupid. It's just more hype. Don't you ever wonder that if there's not somebody responsible for all this confusion and chaos, that maybe we're doing it to ourselves sometimes? Do you ever wonder? And that the politicians and corporations that run these things, they're just raking in the dollars because they don't care about all our conspiracies. But when you start talking about dead kids when they really died and you say they didn't, that's a whole nother thing.
Because it affects other circumstances.
Right.
Of course.
All right. And now these things are being declassified years and years later when they don't matter. We know the CIA was involved with esoteric research. We know that they made it a part of their programs. They never were really conclusive if they used it alone to how powerful it was. We also know that they have mind control weapons. I had another guy come in here one day and showed me all the patents to him. But again, more politicians and corporate people trying to control things. I still don't think they're dark sorcerers in a tower somewhere.
But we did talk about Twitter earlier.
Yeah, the CEO of Twitter. Yeah, he's a corporate.
I mean,
head.
that's just one, but that's not to say that there are others.
Well, I mean,
doing the same thing. If one person can do it, Joe, who's to say that a lot of them are, or half, or whatever percentage?
What do you mean?
It's out there. Anybody who has in a position of power, how did they get there? And what means did they get there? I'm not accusing everyone of being a black magician.
That some people used witchcraft and magic to get into places of success.
I'm saying if it's out there, then why not? Why not use it?
I'm confused that I get what you're saying, but why not? Yeah. So let me ask you this question. Then if that's what bothers you. If you were a magician, let's say like Lon Malo Duquette came on this program once and talked about this. If you knew magic and you were in a desperate situation, let's say, and this is the choice he made, okay? Let's say that you needed a little bit of money. I'm not talking about running Twitter. I'm just talking about your kids are starving. You got no job. There's no jobs around. You can't do anything, but you do know how to contact the spirit and cut a deal with them so you can get a little bit of money. How long do you think you would let your kids go hungry before you do that? Now, I'm not saying there's no other alternative. Surely there is. But the guy made that choice, and it worked for him, and he walked away with a little bit of money in a car, and he limped away from it, and he got it. But I don't think Lon is trying to run the world, right? So other people that know these things, like you bring up the CEO of Twitter who supposedly cut somebody's hair and uses witchcraft, we don't really even know if that worked. No. We just know that he's doing it. But that doesn't mean that he's trying to control you and I.
Well, well, how about this? Maybe not that higher up, if you will, but just random people who claim that they're Wiccan or witches or whatever they want to label themselves as, and they come out and actually say that they are cursing people such as the American
Donald
president.
Trump and all the voters.
Right.
Yeah, we already talked about that one. That's wrong.
So, I mean,
how do you combat something like that?
It just goes on and on, man.
Well, no. Well, how do you combat something like that? That's what I'm asking you. If it's a problem to you, then you have to solve it. Because jumping up and down on the radio ain't going to solve it, right?
Well,
so how do you combat something like that?
You have to get involved. Well, look, you're opening a conversation first of all. Mm-hmm. So it's getting out there. It's putting it in people's minds. Well, maybe there is something to this.
There definitely is.
So, you leave it up to the person. I don't care if anyone thinks that's chicken, what I'm saying, but it is what it is. If you feel that there is something happening and you open your mouth about it, someone else is going to say, okay, maybe there's something to this. Go do your research.
Right. And do you know that the people that combated those guys that came out and they wanted to bind Trump and all the voters, do you know that there were people that came out and fought them magically and in the astral realms and through symbols? So there was, not people that just were afraid of it, but people that were willing to go into war with these people because they think it's wrong to bind people. I don't like Trump. I didn't vote for Trump. I got to be honest with you. Don't like the guy. Didn't vote for him. To be honest with you, I don't even remember if I voted because I don't think I did, but I didn't like Trump. I didn't like Hillary. But I don't think it's right to sit around and let people curse other people and bind them because they're voting for them, because you're taking away their free choice. Now, you can't combat that, stuff like that, with radio shows or YouTube videos. You got to fight fire with fire. And that's exactly what happened. And guess who stepped up? The Rosicrucians stepped up. They came out in the public. They're on YouTube right now. They said this is wrong, binding people stuff. It wasn't about taking Trump's side. It was about taking people's choice away.
That's great.
What's not great is people think that guys like that are in some type of, they get run in the ground because they think they're running the world.
But it's not them that's running the world. It's the people who claim to be Rosicrucians and are actually doing the opposite and giving them a bad name.
I agree with that.
And therefore they're also labeled as a secret society.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I forget what the guy's name was. It was Michael something. He came out and he started invoking demons from the infernal realms and stuff. You know, and it was funny, Dave, he came out and he said, well, I was just using magic, you know, there was nothing wrong with it. And he tried to make all these different excuses for it. But no, dude, you came out and you called upon demons to bind the people that supported Trump just because you didn't agree with them. Yeah, man, that's evil. Did it work? Nah, it didn't work, man. And it still hasn't worked. So what does that tell you? Guys like that aren't running the world. They're just stirring up more hype because they're pissed off somebody don't agree with them. It didn't also, probably, it might not have worked because maybe there are people out there that study the esoteric and magic and they're not afraid to stand up and fight back with it. So maybe knowledge isn't such a bad thing, even secret knowledge. It's just really about what you do with it. But we're way past break, and I think we need to take one. It's coffee time. We'll be right back. Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange is here with us. Stick around.
This is Elle. I listen to Lighting the Void because it's interactive radio with good content, interesting guests, and a humble host, sharing his journey through the esoteric. Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for having us along for the ride.
Thank you so much for a delightful evening.
Well, I got a lot of ground to cover.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM. See you then.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM.
Start your evenings with The Fringe FM, long before those other shows get started. Exclusively live on The Fringe FM, hear the Quantum Hologram Matrix with the Reverend John Polk, Tuesdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. And our newest show, Sci-Spy Radio with Suzanne Ross, Wednesdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. Then stay up, because we're burning the midnight oil well into the morning hour. The truth is out there, and so are we. Lock it in. The Fringe FM. Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Tonight we are here with Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange at BeyondTheStrange.com. And I'm going to say it every hour. The website is lightingthevoid.com. If you can support us, if you get any value from the show, please send us a donation. If you can, doesn't matter how much, $5, whatever. If you can't, then share, like, and subscribe. All the social media is Lighting the Void. You can just search it on Google and you'll find it. And the conversation got just as deep as I thought it would, Dave. We've been talking about Luciferianism, the symbolism, secret societies, where it all connects. And that's the beauty, I think, on this show is we don't always have to agree, but we're going to try to figure this out one way or the other, instead of getting polar about it and slapping each other around. And what I would like to say is you bring up a good point about that. Yeah, magic is really going on. It's not a secret anymore. People are really using it against each other. The guy that I was bringing up that tried to bind Trump and all of his followers with demons and tried to cast binding spells on him, his name was Michael Hughes. And I think Leo Zagami did his research on that guy. Leo Zagami and David Griffin both found out that this guy belonged to the Society of Rosicrucians, and I believe it was Anglia, but it's the American version. And in that, they take a vow to be Christian, in other words. They confess that they are Christian and that they hold those values. And so what David Griffin did, is he publicly went out and challenged Michael Hughes and said that if you vowed to hold Christian values, then why are you trying to curse and bind people? So it's a fact, and I'm not trying to convince you guys that this magic works, but it's a fact that we've got magicians out there that are actually dueling each other right now, that there is what they perceive as a magical war, whether you believe it's happening or not. But what we're trying to figure out while that stuff is going on is, are there other people that know these powers or whatever, controlling the world or controlling all of these different things that happen? Why did they toss everybody off YouTube? If conspiracy is conspiracy and it's totally senseless, then why did everybody get tossed off YouTube? And we discussed that. And did I miss anything, Dave?
I think that's about it.
I think that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about, we opened up with basically the Luciferian agenda, mainly in Hollywood, mainstream. We talked about the new show, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And, there's a lot to that still, but what you're talking about with the magic, I really believe not only is it really happening in the world, but from what I've been seeing, it's happening more and more in Hollywood as well. And not only with Sabrina, but there's been past shows like The Magicians, of course, Harry Potter. Now you have,
Magicians was a weird show. I remember that one. Yeah, it was weird.
It was, but and again, I don't follow magic or anything that has to do with it like you do, Joe. But I would have to say it looks, what they do on the show, it looks like they do their research pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes on and on. Now we have Fantastic Beasts as well. It just keeps going and going.
But it makes you want to watch it, doesn't it?
It makes you want to watch it.
It
makes you want to be. I mean, hey, watching a superhero movie makes you want to be a superhero. That's the beauty of movies and the imagination. And Hollywood knows how to do it.
Yeah, they do.
They know how to put that in people's minds and go out and, and buy the tickets and everything that goes with it. But I also believe that there's more to it than just making money. I think it really does have to do with something that's going on with, the dark and the light that's in the world.
You think the devil is taking people's souls, right? Maybe like he's tricking people into learning all this enlightening knowledge and learning all of the secrets of heaven like the angels did in the book of Enoch, and teaching them all this stuff. So at the very end, they're screwed and they could just take their souls. Could be. That's a very valid fear. And I'll tell you why, because you can follow this rabbit hole all the way down to the very end, all the way to the Gnostic teachings, and you really start learning what's going on in these astral realms and the inner worlds and the archangels and the demons, and you start learning all of this stuff. But you never learn, it seems like you never learn to what end does it go to. And I tried to talk about that last night. I tried to talk about that, the original mystery teachings that were here before they got all screwed up, and meanings of power and the priest class and all this stuff. The original stuff was about not so much enlightenment and being full of knowledge, but being able to be, it was about consciousness. It was about becoming aware of who you really are, going back to what some of us would call God. It was about the solar body, and that's what the whole Christmas story is about. So you got the Christ story that absolutely represents death, birth, and resurrection. And it represents all of the, which are good things, right? That's a good thing. But I think what Dave is touching on here is some people look at enlightenment as if it's just 100%. It's an intellectual thing. You know what I mean? There's a difference. If you just want to learn stuff for power or just to know it, or you want to get super intellectual because you like to read books, that's another thing. But there's also the people that do it to learn who they really are and why are they here, and they're trying to get back to God. That's what the Golden Dawn and original Rosicrucian teachings was all about. It wasn't about control or power over anybody but your own self. And just like Manly P. Hall said, that things got messed up when people broke their vows. The only reason why we know all of this information and the rituals and the symbols they use, all the stuff, the only reason why we know it is because Aleister Crowley and Israel Regardie broke their vows and put all the information into the public. And now we've got magical wars going on in YouTube. And I literally had a magician tell me that the astral realm is utter chaos right now because of this stuff that's going on.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah. So do I believe that there's a super secret society that's paired with reptilians, though, that are controlling all of this? Man, that's a stretch, but it doesn't mean it's not true.
It doesn't. And it doesn't mean that you have to believe in all of it. And I'm not saying you need to believe in any of it. But what I am saying is it should be considered. It can be considered ridiculous. It can be considered insane. But it could also be considered that it could be possible.
I remember we had a guest on, and I forget the name of the guest and whose show I was producing at the time, but they were a victim of abuse as a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had mentioned that their father was a Rosicrucian. And I asked one of my hosts, I said, well, ask that person what that has to do with what happened to her as a child, right? And here's where the problem came. That they couldn't put it together. They just knew that their father was in a secret society. And I don't even think it wasn't their father that abused them, but their father was in a secret society, but they ended up getting abused. And that's what they put together in their heads. Now, it doesn't mean that it wasn't involved, or the secret societies weren't involved. It doesn't mean that there weren't people that were pretending to be Rosicrucians or whatever and did something. But I think people put things together in their head, Dave. You have to, understand that, right? I mean, you do see that. The people just put things together in their head sometimes. But not for bad reasons.
Right. And I don't think it'd be considered a theory if they didn't. But I'm not saying that all conspiracy theories or theorists are people who just put things together in their head.
Oh, no, definitely not, because conspiracy is real. But what I mean is the pentagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what we talked about at the beginning of the show, the pentagram, what that makes people think of and how Hollywood's using it. But has anybody actually studied the symbol itself? Do they really know what it means? And I don't just mean like, okay, it represents the 4 elements and it's a star. I mean, really get into what it means and where it came from and the history of it, which is something I know Ryan's show after this, they're going to be talking about the history of magic.
Mm-hmm.
But
that'll be good.
It'll be a great show. But they really need to understand what it means. I mean, if you were a war general, let's say that you look at these people as your enemy, these dark magicians and secret societies and all this stuff. What I've found is that most people that consider these people the enemy or evil, they'll only study these things up to a point that proves what they think is right or some circumstantial evidence. For instance, that means Lucifer, the upside down pentagram, and it's a star in the east. I knew it. It's a Luciferian agenda, and they stop. They quit researching at that point. They validated their theory. And they don't understand that it's just one side of a coin, that the pentagram facing up represents Christ and salvation.
Mm-hmm.
The white magicians actually put that pentagram on their floor. They'll put it on the floor as they enter, as you enter the room, it has to face a certain way. And I know this sounds wacky, folks, but they do it. They put it on their bedposts. They even put it on glass to keep ghosts and evil spirits away. But you stopped where you was, so you think, well, it's all a Luciferian agenda, and it's evil, and it's whatever. Is there a Luciferian agenda going on? I don't know about an agenda, but I do know there are people that are worshiping an idol called Lucifer. I do know that there are Satans or Satanists.
Again, calling it Luciferian might be the wrong terminology for it.
Nah,
because it may just be what we said earlier about, Lucifer and Satan. They're different, and Satanism is what's really happening. You can call it a satanic agenda instead of a Luciferian agenda. But Luciferian, if you want to go there, I mean, Lucifer, illuminate, however you want to put it, is to be enlightened, right?
That's all it means. Sorry, I was coughing there. Yeah, that's all it means.
No, that's okay. But if it's going towards a more darker, evil, if you will, agenda, then maybe it can be considered satanic.
Have you ever looked at that book it's a German magical order called the Fraternus Saturni? Stephen Flower's written it, right? He wrote the book.
I have not.
He talks about that they unleashed the Luciferian organization in the Western world, right? He talks about how but he talks about that it was necessary, and this is where it gets weird. And I'll just pull a quote during the break from the book here. He says that the Logos was necessary in order for the light to light the dawn, and this Logos was Lucifer, the light bringer. Lucifer is also the demiurge who created our visible world by breaking the static cosmic order. The result was a war in heaven, by which death entered the world, and Lucifer is regarded as the higher octave of Saturn, where Saturn represents the lower octave, the outermost planet and polar opposite of the sun in ancient cosmology. Now think about that. Saturday, Sunday. Saturday's the seventh day of the week, right? We can go down that rabbit hole if you want to, if we got time. But because of this ongoing opposition, Lucifer is still fighting the solar Logos. What did I tell you about the solar ascension, right? The principal battlefield is our Earth, which contains a negative astral and positive mental sphere apart from its physical form. Saturn is seen as the great judge with scales and sword, entrusted with weight, measure, and number. He is the guardian of the threshold, or the gateway to transcendence. Because he betrayed divine mysteries to mankind, he has been punished. His heavy, dark, leaden qualities must be transformed into gold by the magician in an alchemical process involving the repolarization of lights. Now, if you start digging into that, then you're like, oh, okay, this is just a big story about transmutation of our souls, and it has to involve the planets, and they just made this big story around the planets and everything in the stars and sky, which is what Maxwell and all these other, like David Matheson and all these other people have been telling us. And so, therefore, when people, like I was mentioning earlier, when people idolize parts of the story, they idolize Lucifer, Saturn, let's just say even certain angels, or they make churches about this or that, then they're idolizing just a part of the story. And if there is a dark force out there, I think it's winning because we're doing that. That's what I think. Instead
so
of
we're not helping,
it,
we're hurting.
Yeah, we're just hurting it. Like, we're fighting over it right now, killing each other, fighting over things because the priest class stepped in and made all of this ancient spiritual alchemical knowledge, which is something that you're supposed to figure out while you're here, which was a beautiful thing, which was the original design of religion that Thoth talks about, for the seeker to find, like, religion was just supposed to be a doorway into the real mysteries of the soul. But instead, the priest class got involved, and they learned to control people through religions and books, scribes and Pharisees that Christ talked about, who are the harbingers of the real hell on earth. And now, instead of finding our way through religion, the way it was originally designed, the priest class has made it a world of chaos and confusion. And that's the real control that's going on. Chaos and confusion, I think. If as long as we're in a state of confusion, you're a slave. And so you can't get past that until you get past your own ideas and start seeking this knowledge. See if you can learn about what Lucifer and the devil and this whole story really means, and don't run from it, but damn sure don't worship the idol or the picture or the image of it.
Right.
You know, do you think Jesus wants to come back and see a cross? People are kissing their crosses and bowing and worshiping and a cross represents an idea. It's a good symbol to have, but I think you need to understand what it means and move on. And even in the Bible that some people hold in Hebrews, it tells you, there's a verse in there, and I don't want to get preachy, but there's a verse that tells you, they pull it up, man, like, let's move on from Christianity. It talks about evolving from the Christian teachings into something bigger and better. Taking the message that Jesus gave us and evolving it, you know, that's the whole idea, to evolve, but we can't do that because we've got the priest class and politicians controlling everything. I think they want us to believe there's dark sorcerers in a tower somewhere that are making us worship Satan. So we never really look into the story and where it came from. And this is a lot of stuff what Jordan Maxwell talks about. And look, you know, it hadn't been an easy ride for him. Everything he ever done, they took away from him. Jesus, Dave, I'm ranting again. You're supposed to stop me, dude.
But I'm caught up in it, man. I mean, and what you say is not wrong. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. And I feel that, you know, again, I hate to say it the way I say it, but it's like, until somebody does their own research, they're really not going to know.
Right.
And that's the whole point, is you can't hang on to every word that I say or Joe says or any other radio host says or TV show person says or whatever. You need to get out there and do your research, and then you believe in what you believe in. And I've learned a lot, you know, in the last, you know, 2 to 3 years, but it's something that I had to do. If I didn't do my show, I probably would be in the same place I would be 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, and I've learned a lot. One of the things I liked that you and I, our conversations about, Joe, is about why do we know what we know now? I mean, if we had, let's say that we there is reincarnation. I'm not saying there is. I'm not saying there isn't.
Sure.
But if I've lived, let's say I've lived 5 times already. I've died and I've come back, and I've died and I come back. Why don't I remember those times that I came back or that I was alive in the past? But I do know that I'm living right now. And I like what you said is because it's possible because you're starting to wake up.
That's right. Yeah, that's what it's all about, man.
So we're in a time right now where this is the best time to wake up.
Yeah, it's what it's all about. And you know what I think? Well, I wonder if we actually wake up, when we do wake up from all this crap, we're going to laugh and we're going to be like, what? You know, I was a human on this planet Earth and I really believe that stuff, but I'm back now and I'm where I'm supposed to be. But you know what? I want to go back and do it again. Make me forget because I'm bored, you know? I mean, I wonder about things like that for sure, but I think the journey through truth seeking, it's frustrating sometimes, right? It's frustrating because a lot of people just want a little bit of guidance. They do. And so when you tell people, man, just do your own research, some people, I think they want to do their own research, but they don't really know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
And they get hung up on certain things. And we get hung up on a lot of things. And so someone will teach them one little aha thing about, let's start really small, like we did at the beginning of the show, the pentagram, right? They'll teach them about that, and they'll have an aha moment, and it really matters and depends on what they were taught at that time, where they go from there. But I also really believe this too, Dave, that the truth seekers, the real ones, are here. They're listening to this show. They're listening to your show. They're listening to, well, let me back up real quick here. They're listening to Clyde Lewis, right? They're listening to Ryan Gable, and they're finding their way through the stuff. They are doing their own research, but I also believe that maybe some people are just here and they're not ready to do that. And this is kind of like this big, I guess you could say, farming planet of souls, and they're not ready. They're just here to live their life and do their thing, man. And they're not ready to do that yet, or it's not their time to do that yet. So why should we convince them? So we should only be here for those people that are looking for things like this, you know, so we can figure it out together. And you know what really freaks me out, what makes me think that you're right about a lot of things, Dave, is this John of God story. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but that really freaked me out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because here's a guy that kind of reminded me of Daskalos, or Dr. Stylianos Ateshlis, who was a real faith healer, a guy that really put his hands on people and healed, and he taught the mysteries, and he actually taught the Theosophical Society. And it took me a long time to find his books and really learn this stuff. And I got Daniel Joseph on the show. I started learning about these beautiful things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's this guy in Brazil who's, I think, he's an older guy, a faith healer. He's been on Oprah and he's healed all these people. And then all of a sudden, you know, he sells crystals all over the place too. But then all of a sudden, women come out and say that he's abused them or sexually molested them. And now it's up to like 300 women. And then the police surrounded his house last week. Now, I'm just following the story. They surrounded his house, interrogated the guy, and all this paranormal stuff started happening. Electric currents were screwing up equipment.
Mm-hmm.
People were passing out. People were getting run over. I mean, it was hard to explain. You know, after a while, it's not a coincidence. Printers just don't start printing stuff because they want to. They have to have a command to do so. Refrigerators don't just blow up unless you make them blow up. But I started thinking about energy and what Jason Quitt was talking about. And when I wired this studio, man, I wired it backwards on one wall. And you know what it did? It lit up some of this stuff in here. Like the current has to go somewhere. You understand electricity at all? So it was coming through my equipment and shocking me. So I'm thinking, how in the hell did this guy reverse? I think he reversed the current in the room using push and pull, like some of this chi stuff Jason Quitt's talking about. And if he's really guilty of these things, or if it's a big conspiracy to get him out of there. But either way, some real stuff went down in Brazil, and this guy knew some esoteric knowledge. And if he used it to seduce these women, then that's pretty damn scary, right? I mean, 300 women? We're talking about a guy that just went out and put his hands on somebody and said, God bless you, you're healed, and they really were healed, and did that for months and months, and it just doesn't make sense to me. That's the kind of stuff that confuses me, because I'm constantly trying to find these people, like the hidden masters that are on the earth right now, because you know they're there, and you find one, and then this thing comes out. It devastated a lot of people, Dave.
Yeah.
A big story in the spiritual community right now.
I'll definitely have to go back and check it out again. I remember hearing the name John of God.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real scary story.
Yeah. And so was he abusing his powers? I mean, there's already talks of that the government, is just a big conspiracy to get him to quit. Did he start a cult? You see? And the older secret societies, and I'm talking about way back, we're Pythagoras time, right? The reason why they kept these initiates, the reason why you had to labor to learn this stuff is because they had to know. They wanted to know that you were going to use this stuff for the right reasons. And now it's all screwed up. Bad.
I got to tell you about this dream I had, if that's okay.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if you want to go to the last break or not, but
no, we can just go through it.
So the other night I have this dream, and I rarely remember my dreams. I mean, it has to be a really good dream for me to remember it, or I don't know why I don't remember all my dreams. But anyways, so this dream I had, I'm already in the process of a battle. And when I say that, I mean, I know I'm fighting because there's chaos all around me. And what it is there's a group of people with me, and we're fighting these other entities, if you will. They're not actual humans. They don't even have a physical body. They look more like they're spiritual. And there's almost an army of them. And they're all surrounding another being. And this one does have sort of a body, but it's more of a body of fire or flames or whatever. And I knew that was some sort of demon or something from hell.
Really?
Yeah. Don't ask me why I knew that, but I just knew it in my dream. I knew that that's what I was fighting, and that's what was fighting against me and trying to not only destroy me, but try to take my daughter's life or soul. So I was protecting her. At the same time, I was also fighting this thing and its army. And they were throwing everything they could throw at us, man. I mean, it was a battle. And the only thing that I could do was pray.
That'll work.
It did. That's the point. It really did. It worked. And I remember that our conversations about what David Griffin had talked about. One of the things about prayer is that it is magic.
Mm-hmm.
So using magic against magic is basically what we do when we do pray. And when you talk about those people in the astral realm, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the astral realm. It can be on this plane as well.
Yeah.
But in that dream, it had more of a Harry Potter feel to it. I'm not going to lie. But the outcome was good. We did win. And it was just
were you emotional when you woke up from it? Did you feel the emotions of it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and to know, I had that feeling that we had won. You know, I don't usually get that feeling after I dream something like that, but it was positive. And it was, you know, I just think that was awesome. But it also reminds me that there is something happening right now. Right now, of all the time in this history, right now is the most important. There's a lot going on, not only in the spiritual world, the paranormal world, the ufology world, you know, even the cryptozoology world. There's a lot happening. And a lot of it has to do with our environment, and a lot of it has to do with what's happening on the planet and outside our planet. You know, there's things happening with the sun that we don't understand. You know, we might even be going through what they call oh my God, starting to slip. It's getting late. But the magnetic shift.
Right, the polar shift
of our planet.
So, you know what made me backtrack when I started going down this occult thing? I mean, when I got into the occult and started studying it, when I really got into it, even practiced it a little, when I got into that, I dove head first. I mean, you remember when we went to those conferences, you saw me doing prayers and stuff. I'd bring my altar with me, you know, because I really realized there was real power into this stuff. But you know what made me back up a little bit and slow down? Was when I realized that Crowley had talked to a being that kind of looked like a gray, and he called him the Lamb.
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
And when Grant Morrison talked about that he went to Kathmandu, and he talked to an alien, and the aliens described to him how they built life on this planet and how they build life on other planets. And I was thinking, okay, this knowledge came from somewhere. There's a story about these people coming from other systems and planets, you know, read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And so I got afraid. It's not that I'm not afraid of this stuff. I got scared for the first time that I might be going down a rabbit hole of something I have no idea about. And I don't know what the hell I'm getting into.
Mm-hmm.
And so I slowed way down. And right now, to this day, I'll tell you that prayer is probably one of the, and I don't really pray like the prayers I was taught when I was younger, but I still use prayer. I mean, look about how many people prayed for my grandmother when she almost died, man. Her blood pressure was like 48/27. She was on death's door.
Right.
And now she's back. I didn't, honestly, in my gut, I didn't think she was going to make it, but I wanted her to, you know. And she came back. So, yeah, I think that there's something real to it. But I think we need to go real slow. And I'll replay that a lot. Like, just slow down a little bit. Do your research. And if you do practice anything that's in the occult or magic, just be real careful about how you do it, man. Do it like a scientist who's in a lab that's about to blow something up. Or don't do it at all. Just use prayer. Right? Prayer works. Why do anything else?
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as that. I mean, you know, I know there was a lot of prayers going towards my uncle as well. He came out of the surgery fine. And I'm not saying that it's always going to work. You know, I'm not saying that. I do know that in other faiths and beliefs, again, you know, bringing up my friend and guest on the show, Michael Freehawk Palani, that he put out there on Facebook that we should all be, when the fires were happening up here in California just recently, that we should all pray for rain. And
it worked, didn't
it? It worked.
It's crazy.
We got rain like maybe a day after that was put out there. And it was there was a meditation, a tribal meditation with like the rain drums and the music and the singing of Native Americans that that you could go out and you can go on YouTube and bring it up and listen to while you do your meditation and praying. And I don't know how many people did that, but I'll say one thing. After he put that out, we got rain. So intention, right?
Yeah, faith is a part of it for sure.
So I don't know, guys. I just know that, you know, the more I delve into this stuff, the more I do uncover things. And it starts with research. It starts with just, hey, let's take a look at this. What's really happening here?
Right.
And go from there. So that's what I think.
330. Oh, if you can't call back, please. I hit the wrong button. I'm so sorry.
Were you getting the caller?
Yeah, I hung up on him. I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. Call back if you can. We got a few minutes here, but yeah, Don says in the Spreaker chat, so what's wrong with talking to aliens? I don't think anything's wrong with talking to aliens. They set out and went out to talk to them. Matter of fact, we've talked about the CE5 protocol here quite a bit. Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, where people are doing, Sue Walker and Reverend White Otter put out a book to teach you how to talk to aliens. My point is that when I learned that the occult could be attached to aliens and that they could have been the ones that actually brought this stuff, that's what was going through my mind. Were they the ones that brought this stuff here? Because I had an image in mind that it was God, right? And that it was my higher self. Mm-hmm. But once the alien thing came in, and all of you were here when I started this show, I had no intention of talking about UFOs and aliens. It just led me there. Once that came into the picture, then I realized, okay, I don't know where this is going, you see? And that's what made me slow up. But if you can talk to an alien, that's great. I'd love to hear from you. There are people doing it right now, man. Kevin Estrella's got some pretty wild stuff going on.
Yeah, I did, Kevin. I'm glad he came on the show. We had a really great conversation as well.
We got a few minutes here left, Dave. What do you got? Tell us about the future of Beyond the Strange. What do you got plans for?
Well, definitely, I think the biggest thing I'm excited about is that I've been working with the Ascension Sessions YouTube channel, Cherie Ariano, who's just a wonderful friend, and we've made friends this last couple of years, and she's offered to help me with her skills as a webmaster, web designer.
Really cool person she is.
Very
really
cool.
Is.
And so we've collaborated, and she's helping me finally getting a new Beyond the Strange webpage. So that's one thing that I'm really excited about, and it's turning out just to be really cool. I mean,
you still chasing down that Bigfoot and those dog men?
Oh yeah, of course.
Absolutely, right.
Absolutely. But yeah, definitely that more research is coming next year, and I do want to get some kind of new camera or something so I can go out and bring some of that Bigfoot dogman hunting, to the YouTube channel. So there's definitely going to be a lot more of videos for Beyond the Strange, and I'm really excited. And I've talked to a lot more guests that I haven't had on the show before, including Linda Godfrey. So that's going to be really, really awesome to have her on the show, quite possibly next month, I think, as a matter of fact. But we have a lot of good stuff coming up, and I'm excited. So it's definitely going to be good. So,
how am I doing with our baby here, the Fringe FM?
Oh man, it's
be honest with me. Now I need some honesty here.
I think when we started it, Joe, it was definitely in its infant phases. And I think, before I left to do what I had to do, it was definitely in its, I'd say, preteen phase.
Adolescence.
adolescence. So it's definitely, got up and started running, and I think it's doing great. So yeah, the Fringe is awesome, and I'm really proud of what it's become, and it's great, Joe. It really is.
The thing about it is we gain a few thousand listeners at the very least every 4 weeks, man. From the time we started, that's how it went. And it hasn't stopped yet. And I think I get a lot of feedback from the listeners, and I love as much feedback as possible. And they know that I listen to it. And you know what they all say? They all say, man, you're really close to something special here. They don't ever say it's special, right? But they always say, you're really close to something different, something special. I'm like, really close? Well, how do I get over it? They can never answer that. Don't you find that funny? They can't answer that question.
Yeah,
but they'll tell me what they want.
Yeah. Well, they leave it up to you, and I think that's amazing. The amazing part about this is that we both co-founded it, but it was your passion that's got it to where it's at. So
yeah, and now we got Eric on the team, and Jeremy, and Alex, and it's a variety of stuff. But I always wondered, I might as well ask Dave on the show right now where he thinks. Let me ask you this question: did you ever think Ryan Gable would be a feature host on the Fringe FM?
No, not
I didn't
at all.
either.
I mean, his resume, if you will, is impressive enough. I mean, it's where he's been at, and it's just amazing to have Ryan on the Fringe FM, and I think that's great. And from time to time I'll talk to him on Facebook too, but it's like, for me, I reached a point where I had to step back, and I had to help do things for me and my family and what's good for the show, and basically what it comes down to is what's good for Dave.
Well, where do people find your show? Where can they go to listen to it?
Well, thankfully you've been saying it through the whole show. So yeah, you can go to beyondthestrange.com, but we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and you can basically just Google Beyond the Strange and Dave Cruz, and you'll see us pop up. So Instagram, on Stellar, everything is Beyond the Strange. The links are on the webpage right now, but again, the webpage is going to be so much better and awesome. I can't even, stop talking about it. I'm so excited about it. So it's going to be great.
Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad to see, and I'll tell you guys, there is hope, because both Dave Cruz and I, when we met, we went through a lot of all this, went through a lot of crazy stuff, ins and outs through all this. And at the end, we're still buds. So there is hope in this radio community. I promise you, it's not all screwed up. Not all of it.
No, not all of it. Not all of it. And
no,
there's no need to, people go at it, take the gloves off and start, going, head to head. Yeah. It's one of those things where we shouldn't actually do that. That and the paranormal community, whatever you want to call it, they need to stick together, and we need to support each other. I've always thought that, and I believe in that. There's some people that'll say that, but they don't really do it.
Right, you got that right, brother.
They don't. As a matter of fact, they'll turn around, they'll tear you apart. And I think we both learned that, huh, Joe?
Yeah, well, the games and all that stuff. It's kind of like a bad girlfriend that's controlling your mind all the time, But thank you so much for coming on the show, Dave. It was a real pleasure, man. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely, and that goes for you too. You need to come back on very soon.
Absolutely, will do, brother.
Right on. Thanks for having me, and thanks to everyone. And have a happy holiday, happy Yule, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. Y'all stay strange.
And remember also that the Fringe FM was produced. That Lighting the Void was produced by the Fringe FM. It cannot be rebroadcasted or syndicated without written permission. And music was by Chrono, Space Station, Kevin MacLeod, Carbon Based Life Forms, and Bundy. We'll see you guys next week. I think we got a new Friday night show coming up. Don't think we're going to do it this week, but we will see you guys next week, Monday night, after Deep Waters Radio with Ronnie McMullen. Up next, if you're listening live, is The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. We'll see you guys. Good night.
And opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, its sponsors, affiliates, or staff. Listener discretion is advised. We told you weeknights on the Fringe FM are now even better. And we mean it.
Do it live!
Where else can you hear the best shows and the best talent? Kick off your evening with our newest host, Alex Exum, live at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Hang out with me, Joe Roop, on Lighting the Void at 9 Pacific, midnight Eastern. Ryan Gable expands your mind on the secret teachings at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern. We're bringing the heat every single night. Fire it up, the Fringe FM.
Yahoy there. This is Gigi from Shift Happens. And holy shit, you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM. Hey, don't you dare turn that stuff.